storyline, but I also like when a team gets to be like that. I kind of want to see them.
I am highly, highly motivated and like inspired by greatness. So
how did you feel about the Bulls back when they were a dynasty?
Love it.
You did? You loved
Yes,
it?
love it. Loved New England when they were. Loved Tom Brady. I want to watch Mahomes be better than Tom Brady. Like I want to experience it.
Do you like Mahomes better than Brady?
I don't necessarily like it. It's not an individual thing.
Sure.
It's like if somebody has the ability to be the greatest of all time,
right.
I want to see it. I want to see that person operate to be the greatest of all time. I wasn't old enough to like truly, I saw Jordan win a couple. Yeah. Just based on my age, but I wasn't old enough to
get the whole breadth of it.
Yeah, to like really experience it and understand what was going on. Tom Brady the same way, more so than MJ, obviously. But like, I saw the latter end of his career and like could take it in for what it was, and that he won that many Super Bowls. But like, if somebody's going to be better than Tom Brady, I want to see it. I want to experience it. I want to watch that guy operate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it.
So if Mahomes really does have the ability to be the best ever, I want to see it, and I want him to do it so I can experience watching him and be motivated.
It wouldn't break my heart though to see the Lions sneak in there and get one.
I would love the Lions. Love the Lions.
That's a good story in itself. I mean, Detroit.
That's the best story.
Barry Sanders. That was my favorite player back in the day. Never really got a chance at it. You know what I mean?
No, and just Detroit, the city.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be like awesome.
Just the comeback of all comebacks.
Yeah, there's a thread in both of those, and it's a good storyline.
There's so many underlying storylines too. The Jared Goff trade with Stafford, MCDC coming in and everybody thinking he was just an ogre.
Yeah, I'm not that smart. Deep into it to know all the ins and outs.
There is so many storylines on Detroit that I would be, if it's not Mahomes and like me not watching Mahomes become the greatest of all time, Detroit.
What about the Raiders?
Raiders are not a Nevada team. They're from Oakland, California. They're not a Nevada team.
You said this back in the day before they even came.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about it. You're like, I don't know, they're not the Raiders.
Well, we had a chance at the Chargers,
How do you feel about the A's coming?
Not a fan. It's California.
New stadium looks pretty sick.
And not everyone always tears me apart. Oh, we obviously know who Lorenzo is, talking shit about California all the time. It's not even that. It's just they're not a homegrown team.
Why don't they is there any chance that they can rebrand that? Why wouldn't they?
I mean, but still, they're not a homegrown team. We're like the Golden Knights are homegrown. The Utah Hockey Club. Yeah. Granted, they were purchased. The Coyotes were purchased, but like they won the lottery.
Yeah, and that's really all.
Rebranded.
That's all it takes is a rebrand, right?
I mean, think so. The Knights are more so.
I mean, a new name, new logo.
The Knights are more so a team than Utah Hockey Club.
Sure.
The Seattle Kraken homegrown, Nevada Vegas Golden Knights homegrown, like that. That's what Nevada. That's what I take pride in.
Do you think it'd be better off than if they just said the A's are going away and then just, hey, we have a new team in Vegas?
It would be better.
It's the Little Gray Men or something.
It would be better for sure because it would be the Utah Hockey Club experience.
Right.
Right. So it'd be.
I think locally there would be more just initial pride in it, right? You don't want to feel like you're getting sloppy seconds from Oakland.
Yeah, and that's actually a good way. Like being a born and raised Nevada local, it's kind of how it feels.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So I'm not a Raiders fan. I never was before.
Have you been to Raiders games?
No. Well, yes, when they played the Chiefs and when they played
the Lions.
I've been to two. No, they haven't.
I'm just kidding.
I've been to 2 games, Chiefs, and I went to watch somebody else play too. Can't remember.
I've never stepped foot in Allegiant.
It's cool.
Looks pretty sick.
It's cool. It's UNLV's home stadium, so I've been to a lot of those.
Gotcha. Yeah, it looks cool.
Been to a lot of those.
I drive by it on the freeway and always think, I should go do something there.
The inside of it's cool. The UNLV games in there are phenomenal. They're fantastic.
Huh. Maybe that's the game to go to then, huh? UNLV.
Yeah.
Not so much the Raiders.
Yeah, we're out of it now, though. We could still win the conference, but we have 2 losses.
Yeah.
That is such bullshit. The refs just killed us in both of them. Can't even get home love from the refs.
How many nights a week do you watch football?
Any night it's on.
How many nights a week is it on? 3, 4?
Depends. Like right now it's on
Thursday,
4 or 5 days a
Monday,
week.
Sunday. Is that right?
You got a couple games on tonight, college games. You'll have games on Wednesdays, games on Fridays, Thursday night football, NFL.
Gotcha.
Like right now, we're in the peak where it's 4 to 5 nights a week.
Your kids like it?
Love it.
Does your wife like it?
Loves it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a family activity.
Mm-hmm.
Sit down and watch a football game.
Yeah.
Brady, you and the girlfriend sitting there watching football?
No.
Not. What about
Big negative.
Hoops? Hoops
I watch them from time to time. I just don't pay for any service to watch it. So like, I catch it if it's on like HBO Max. How it can be on like one of those like sports channels on there.
Brady, you're such a funny guy, man.
He really is.
You spend some time with Brady, talking with him, and just you get like an idea of what Brady's all about. And it's just like, I like burger and a tortilla, no addings, no fixings,
no fixings,
no TV.
Mm-hmm.
You know, books. Wants to read a book from time to time.
Lord of the Rings, Star Wars.
Doesn't want to go trick or treating. No Halloween. No kids. No parties.
Nope. We're loading ammo.
I love it.
That. I like it. No fun.
I see. He never seems unhappy. I'll give him that.
I'm just kidding.
He's always relatively upbeat.
Yep. For sure.
Unless we get him, what was the series we used to do?
What's bugging Brady?
What's bugging Brady?
So that's the funny thing.
Are we going to bring back What's Bugging Brady?
Someone commented the other day on the thing like, oh, we should bring What's Bugging Brady back. And Porter instantly added me and added added Omar on Instagram.
Yeah.
And like the series was fun. But I just disliked how people started commenting like, oh, Brady's negative all the time. Because like obviously What's Bugging Brady. And it's like obviously a series where they try to pick things that they know I'm going to be passionate about. So I'm going to have a say in things. So I'm not a negative person.
Seems like a great series.
But the series made me out to be some like negative person all the time. It's like, no, I just have, my opinions on things. And it's obviously for the show.
Should we have people send in things that they think would bug Brady?
We should.
We should. That'd be good. I like the other series.
You could rank them. We could do a reel of Brady.
Creedmoor for elk.
What?
6'5" Creedmoor for elk.
Oh gosh, that would be a definitely interesting one. I'd get roasted by the rifle experts again.
Yeah.
I like the other series we started, but we only did like 1 or 2 episodes. It was Deep Thoughts by Brady. Because that was the one I wanted to morph it to.
You like that one better?
Deep Thoughts by Brady. Yeah. It had a cool intro too. Like there's a good intro on the YouTube series.
Like the old Jack Handy from Saturday Night Live. Is that where that was from? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think it was. It was like the cover image. It was me sitting on my desk, my feet kicked up, wearing my flip-flops, long hair, and I had a mustache. That's when I shaved this mustache randomly.
You want me to throw my hat in the ring on the 6'5" Creedmoor thing?
Yeah, hear it.
I can take some heat off of you and then I'll get some?
Yeah, loved it.
You want me to do that now? Should I do that right now?
Yeah. Do it.
It's from a 30,000 foot level, because I genuinely don't give a shit. If anybody's in the realm of morally and legally not doing anything wrong, like I genuinely don't care. But from a 30,000 foot view, I don't understand how everyone is so passionate about the 6'5" Creedmoor thing, like, oh, it's good enough, or is this. But when it comes to archery and archery equipment with arrow weights, they're like just staunch. It is this way, only this weight arrow, only this thing.
There's a little bit of debate, but it's not near as hot.
It is. It's so crazy to me though that like so many people, the 6'5" Creedmoor, everyone's okay. Yeah. What about a light arrow then?
Yeah, everyone always thinks it's cool. Like, let's find the minimum caliber cartridge combination that can equal success. Like, why do we need to do that?
Do you know what I find?
But everyone is like so passionately will stand up for it.
Yeah, and
like it's. And I'm all for it, man. If you want to go for it, if you want to shoot it.
Obviously, bullets play a huge part in this, but like, why do we have to go the minimum amount of energy just to prove a point that, like, yes, shot placement does matter, and yes, less recoil. So you're saying, okay, I can go shoot a moose with some really small cartridge caliber bullet combination, but I have to put 3 to 5 shots in it. But the recoil was so less that I could take those 3 to 5 shots really quickly, when I could just take a larger cartridge caliber, correct bullet, and do it potentially with less shots, because the shock of the animal is going to go less. It's like, to me, is more margin of error when you go less, when you go more. And yes, shot placement is everything.
The funny thing here is I was trying to take heat off of you, and you just jumped right back into this.
Yeah, I know.
He just loves it.
He loves
Honestly, just use a man's round, guys. Everyone can be mad at the producer now. Just use a man's round.
It's from 30,000 feet. Because I genuinely don't care. If it's all legal, go for it. I don't give a shit. but like so much passion in the 6.5 Creedmoor and sticking up for that, and it's good enough.
That's what I think is funny.
But then
about
when
all
it comes
that.
to a light arrow, or it's
Expandable
like only
mechanical.
this way. Yeah, expandable mechanical.
Oh,
this
you
and that.
shot a mechanical at an elk. Oh, we're gonna
Light
rip
versus
you apart.
heavy. It's like, no, it's only this way. But then you go to the rifle world, and it's like you say what the Brady Miller thoughts, and everyone comes after you. It's like, what the hell is going on?
What I think is funny is like I'm all for sharing best practices. And like if you found something that worked and you think it could be helpful to somebody else, I think go for it. But it's like this deep emotional passion for these kinds of things. Like only a 500 grain arrow. It's the only thing
It's the
that
only
will
way
work.
with the single bevel this way.
And they get so passionate about trying to impose that upon other people. Like I'm all for sharing info, but like my hell, the depth
It's so interesting.
of vigor, the
Yeah.
vigor that these people put into their arguments is just so bizarre to me.
Me too.
I think it's, I don't get it. I mean, sure.
It's just bananas to watch the two sides of it.
Because I guarantee, if we released a hunt film, I decided to use a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Let's do it.
Let's say I shot.
We should do it, actually.
And then maybe
Next
I
year.
still reduced distance to like 250 yards. But if I had to shoot that elk and I shot 4 or 5 shots right behind the shoulder and that elk was still standing there before it finally fell, I would still probably get ridiculed for then why am I using a 6.5 Creedmoor on an elk when I take 5 shots? When like that's what they're suggesting is okay, but if I do it on a video, I guarantee you I would get ripped apart because like, why do you have to take 5 shots? Did you not know the bullet? Did you not know the distance was what it was? Maybe you should only shoot 100 yards. Like I would guarantee you.
You don't think
if
you'd
I-
have the advocates come out and
I still think I would get ridiculed on both
Really?
sides. I still think it's like
you think it's a
if you use
lose-lose?
this, you're gonna our other side of the train's gonna attack me. If I do this other thing, the other side's gonna attack me. It's like
So you think it's a lose-lose?
I think it's a lose-lose. And honestly, if at the end of the day you do kill an animal, I'm always fine with that. But you have to know your limitations. And like, I just don't like leaving things up for chance a little bit. And it's like, sure, my thing is, I shoot a big cartridge, heavy bullet.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know.
Trail, you think he's in a lose-lose?
I think I'm going to lose, for sure.
I think in today's day and age, everybody's at a lose-lose. If you put yourself out there, like, I mean, I've thought about it. If you sit at a mic for 2 hours every single week and then, you do content for YouTube, you put it out there, there's no way you can win with everybody.
Yeah, I used to get ripped.
Everybody's got something, and a lot of people, we were just talking about it at lunch, but a lot of people just, I don't know, man. I don't know if they don't have enough to do or they're just generally upset at the world, but it just feels like some people just got an axe to grind always.
Man, it keeps me so entertained, though. I
Which
like
is
it.
okay. I don't care. Go for it.
I like
don't
the
read-
entertainment factor.
Yeah, I mean, Brady hits me up probably once or twice a week and is like, "Hey, have you seen this comment? Take a look at it and reply." And like, I don't read any of it.
Yeah. That's the problem because I have to read comments and so I read all the nasty ones and I read things that people say. Like, I used to get ripped apart a lot for using match hunting bullets. They weren't, or match target bullets basically.
Yeah.
And people are like, you need to be using hunting bullets only. Now the trend is everyone says these match bullets are better than hunting. So why earlier was I getting ripped apart when I had proven that they were? Because the success rate of me killing animals with them was phenomenal. But yet the internet decided to rip me apart then. But now it's an okay trend. And now that I'm not using match anymore, and now I'm using copper, now I'm getting ripped apart from the other side. Like, oh no, you're a copper person. Are you against lead? Are you against this? I'm like, no, I just wanted to use something different because I kept getting asked questions about, hey, have you ever used copper? And I was like, no, I never have. Maybe I'll give it a shot.
Brady Copper Top
And-
Miller.
And I'm just trying new things. It's like I can't win.
I love it, though. I mean, it's fun. The entertainment's great.
Yeah, I just can't win on the internet.
Yeah, as long as you don't get emotionally invested in it yourself.
Oh,
and
it's just straight entertainment.
Part of your identity, then forget it. No biggie.
It's fun. Internet's fun.
The internet is fun. It's fun. It's fun to get away from time to time too, but every now and then it's good entertainment.
I use it for the entertainment quite a bit. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the fact that there's so many good memes. Because literally I'll get sucked in by one, and then it's like the next,
Scrolling,
then the
and
next,
they're all
the
so
next,
good.
the next, the next, the next.
Yes.
You're like waiting for that next big hit, that
you
next good
seen-
meme that makes you chuckle.
I wish I could give this guy a shout out. Actually, you know what? I can't because it's in a text thread. You see the one where it's a video meme, like a video storyline meme. I don't know if that's classified as like a straight up meme, but if it's not, whatever. Where the guy's wearing Sika in a bar and he walks in and goes, "Hey, I'm rich."
Yeah.
Is he rich? No,
yeah.
literally, I am rich. Do you see what I'm wearing?
I probably had that sent to me by no less than 5 different people.
How good is that one?
It's pretty funny.
What is that kid's name though? It's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's so good.
You know the Bob Ross? You know,
Oh
the
yeah.
painting things
Yeah,
that memes people
for
create from
sure.
him?
Yeah.
So someone
Happy
created,
little trees.
yeah. So someone created a meme of me
Oh really? It's Bob
with
Ross?
Bob Ross. It's like,
Oh, that's awesome.
so it's let's just put a happy little 15-pound 30 cal in here,
30 cal here.
and then it's like, there, doesn't that just brighten up your whole day? And it's a picture of me on the right with obviously Bob Ross hair
Yeah.
around it and my
Yeah, happy little
heavy
trees.
30 cal rifle.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Somebody took some time to make that.
Yeah,
Huh?
Lane sent that to me. He's like, yeah, someone created this for you,
Yeah.
or of you.
Man.
Probably it's on the internet somewhere. It's kind of funny. I laughed.
Yeah. Yeah, that sitcom one was super funny.
Man, I can't find it. I want to give that kid a shout out because it's so good.
We'll find it. Brady, do you want to hit promo this week before we dive into the topics at hand?
I do, because the topic at hand is,
It's going to be a good one.
it's going to be a good one.
I know that last year when we talked about this kind of thing, we got a lot of feedback. People tend to be super interested. So we're going to talk about Utah's new proposed mule deer management plan.
Yep.
We're also going to talk a little bit about Colorado's new proposed. I guess they're not proposed, right? They're approved, right?
Yeah.
Other than maybe one.
Yeah, other than like, yeah, that first rifle deer.
Yep. So
season.
we're going to talk about Colorado's season dates in the next, 5 years? Up to what year?
2025 to 2029.
2029. Yep, kind of talk about some of those. And then at the tail end of it, I think we're going to take a stab at talking about application strategy, talk about what we are thinking about and what we're looking at for this year, and maybe hopefully, I should say, give you guys some tips and tricks on your own application strategy. And I guess my hope is, I've had so many people reach out, it seems like more recently, that are new Western big game hunters that want to go elk hunting or deer hunting or antelope hunting. So I want to try to take it from a level of, what states do you think you ought to apply for and why? And then more specifically, I think it'd be good to drill down with the three of us and figure out what it is that you guys are going to be hunting. Besides Brady this year, elk with 6.5 Creed.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
I think he has to wear a Creed t-shirt when he hunts with a 6.5 Creed more. With arms wide open, right, Brady?
No, I love it. Dude, we have to
need
do
more
this.
Creed.
We have to do this.
Maybe we could. Maybe I'll pick up one of those OTC rifle elk tags.
We just need to
next
do
year.
it as a social experiment to see what comes out of it.
And remember, I do own a 6.5 Creedmoor.
You
As a
little
practice
devil.
target.
Can't believe you would do that to
Do you-
yourself.
Hey, it's a practice rifle.
Do you own
Training gun.
any Creed CDs? Do you have any Creed on play?
I probably got to play this on Spotify.
Social experiment. It has to happen.
Yeah. So yes, podcast promo code.
That's what I'm getting you for Christmas is a Creed t-shirt.
Okay.
This is great.
Are you gonna custom make it and add like a little rifle?
No,
and
just a straight up
I
Creed
need
t-shirt.
more Creed.
I need more Creed.
yes.
We're doing it.
Okay. Can't
All
wait to
right.
build the most badass 6.5 Creed around next year.
I can't wait. We're doing this.
Okay.
Cool. I better get some
You heard it here first.
better get some reloading dives going and
We have to. We
Yeah.
literally don't have an option at this point.
It'd be kind of fun.
Hit us with promo emails.
All right. So yes, everything we're talking about today is going to benefit you in terms of research and planning. We're talking about app strategy. We're talking about Utah's management plan. We're talking about Colorado's. So you're going to need an Insider membership account. If you don't have one already, you can use promo code podcast and you sign up for Insider. They'll give you 50 points back to the GOHUNT Gear Shop, which is $50 you can spend in anything gear related. So like we said, we are excited to talk about future management, how we're going to pick up tags, our strategies, how these management plans are going to influence what we're going to apply for. Especially I was looking at Colorado season dates. There's a lot of different implications there on what you might apply for now compared to in future years, save your points, burn them, that sort of thing, especially in this Utah discussion. So Insider membership right now is very valuable to try to find your, there's still hunts going on, but you can start to already research and plan for your 2025 application season. So highly recommend.
Brady goes deep. You see this? He's printed off the whole plan. He's got his Sharpie out.
Got the Sharpie out,
He's
highlighted
making
things.
notes.
And this is what
Nervous.
I like when we do this kind of podcast because I know Brady he can't lay off. He's like, I know Brady has other shit that he should be doing. Like yesterday when I was talking to him about it,
Yeah.
I was like, I know for a fact Brady has a bunch of other stuff on his plate, but I know that the rest of the
And
day,
he's just
evening.
head first dive
Yeah,
in.
even last night when I talked to him, he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, when I get home, I'm going to listen to the different board meetings. I'm going to go through the notes. And I was just like, sucked in, man.
And this is what I love doing because I told you guys before, I have a folder on my desktop called Mule Deer Research. And it's just like a bunch of research papers. And I do like to read them on my computer, but I print them off a lot. I have a big stack of these things at home, giant like paperclip things on
Why do you
it,
like this
highlighted.
kind of stuff?
I just think I can learn little nuggets of information that I potentially could utilize in my hunt or how I research, or they're talking about habitat or, different things that are, even adjusting buck-doe ratios and all that stuff. And it's like, I feel like I learn a lot, and then I can understand a lot about why states are probably doing something. And then I'd be like, I can't just be that person all the time. It's like, I don't like this because of my
Why
own.
not? Millions of people are.
Yeah, and it's like you don't have any. Like I'm not saying
I don't like
I'm
that.
not saying I'm the most educated person on all these things, but like I like to understand what's going on, so that way when I see like, oh, they're doing this because of this, and like we had a discussion earlier before we started, like we were going back and forth, like what does this mean, for Utah, like on the premium units and the general units, like how's that going to impact it? And it's like just being knowledgeable about it, I think, can make you a more well-rounded, not only hunter, but in your research and planning phases, and just fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Renzo, he likes to watch football. I like to read a little bit of papers. I had to throw you under the bus
for watching football here.
I had to throw you under the bus because the beginning conversation, I didn't know nothing you guys were talking about.
Sports family, man.
Sports family.
I try to do a little of both. I'm definitely not at your level. I do like it, but I also like some football, some basketball.
We're not a movie family. We're not a TV show family.
That makes it. If you did all of it, then I'd be like, oh, that's all.
Yeah,
it's hard to balance
I
it
can't
all.
tell you. I don't know if my family's ever watched a movie or like a show together. We've never done that. It's always just sports.
Yeah. I will say, because I did throw you under the bus, I'll throw myself under the bus.
Yeah.
The one show I've kind of been watching a little bit lately is Gold Rush. I've been going back through all I've never watched it.
Gold Rush, miners in Alaska.
Yeah. I'm on
I have heard of that.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a
Like
Netflix
an actual show
or something.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you spend on Discovery or something like that. But
Yeah.
I'm watching them all on HBO, I believe it is. So that's kind of my thing I've been doing in the evenings every now and then. Watch a little episode of Gold
same.
Rush.
Just different, but same.
Just seeing guys run around with machines.
Different.
Same, but it's
But not
different.
even
Yeah.
remotely the same.
So, watching the Hoffmans screw up a bunch of mining stuff all the time. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I have nothing about it. I don't do that on a daily basis. I mean, my family's a trucker family, but like, it's kind of cool. So
It
that's
was.
my little crush.
I watched it.
What about Ice Road Truckers, Brady? You watched it?
I haven't watched that one yet. Maybe I'll jump in there.
It combined both.
Trucking, literally
trucking
combined
and
both.
Cold weather. I love cold weather because then it means a mule deer rut.
There you go.
We watched a movie the other night. We watched Daddy's Home 2 together. Have you seen it? Mark Wahlberg.
Isn't that the Christmas one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell.
That is a good
The
one.
thing that reminded me of Ice Road Truckers at the end, John Cena, they're like, you can't go out there, it's a winter storm. And he's like, I was a 3-year contestant or whatever on Ice Road Truckers.
It's awesome.
That's so
The
fun.
shit they come up with
That
in those
movie's
movies.
hilarious.
Unreal.
Anyway, what else do we have going on? We have Black Friday coming up. We
Friday.
want to hit that again. Just make sure you guys know we got a ton of Black Friday deals, daily deals, all kinds of seriously good gear on sale. I was looking through. You guys know I love a good pair of darn tough socks.
Me
So
too.
those are going to be 25% off, which is a pretty smoking deal. That'll be the 18th.
What's your go-to darn tough?
The 2012, man.
2012?
Yeah, I don't even know what it's actually called. Maybe like a full cushion boot sock or something.
Yeah.
But I know the number's 2012. Yeah, that one's hands down my favorite. And 2011's good, but it's not quite as good.
I wear the 2011.
Do you like it?
I'm just an 11 guy.
Oh yeah, I like 11 too. I get that.
Yeah.
But the 12, you should give it 12 a go.
Should I?
It's damn.
I'm
nice
not superstitious about very much, but
But
like
socks and numbers.
the numbers. Like it's the 2011. Yep, that's mine.
Yeah, 11. I get that.
It's your birthday?
Yeah, and 11's just always been my thing.
Me too. My favorite number as well.
Yeah, I mean 11/11 is my birthday, which I get. That's probably where it came from, obviously. But I don't know. It's just like TV always has to add up to 11, like volume wise, and I'm superstitious about that.
So I have to ask if I'm getting on a tangent. Have you ever killed a mule deer on your birthday?
Yes, killed
Gosh,
my
that's
biggest typical on my
That's
birthday.
so badass. I'm so jealous.
You have?
Or actually, no, I found it on my birthday and killed it the next day.
I don't think I've ever killed one on my birthday.
Yeah, because both of you have the chance to. But
Yeah, I've never
I have
killed one,
killed
but
on
I
my
have been
birthday.
hunting a number of days on my birthday. Actually, the other night I was at home and one of my kids goes, "Hey, the 14th is your birthday. Are you gonna be home?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, all three of them, "What?
Wait, what?
No way!" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, actually, maybe I should try to find a hunt to go on." And they were like,
Yes.
"Boo!"
Yeah,
I was like, all right, fair enough. We'll
yeah.
go to Chili's.
I'm gone on my birthday every
Yeah.
year. I will tell you though, one of like my major, so I watch a lot of like Midwest whitetail
Yeah.
and Deer Society and all that stuff on YouTube. I want to whitetail hunt so bad. And part of the lure to it for me is November 11th for them. If you go back and watch their YouTube episodes chasing November for Midwest whitetail, the amount of deer they kill on November 11th, I'm like, oh, this is right up my alley.
Magic.
It's a magic date for them.
So you're always busy in November, though. November's busy for you usually.
Yeah, it's pretty busy.
So try to. You're gonna have to make it like a real priority to get in the whitetail woods because you always.
And I tried so hard this year. It is incredible how hard it is to find a place to hunt whitetails.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, and then time in November.
Which I would.
There's still
honestly,
a lot going on in November.
But I would gladly give up my current schedule for a like
good whitetail
true
hunt.
whitetail hunt. But man, that shit is not easy to find.
I was at lunch and Troy Hellman from SIG was texting me, and I can't even remember whitetailing. I think he said #whitetailing or something, and he's in the tree stand with like a package of crunchy Cheetos and his bow hanging from a hook. And I was kind of laughing about it, and I said, "Yeah, that's pretty good, man. It's better than being in your office at home, right in Oregon." Exactly. He's like, "Actually, I've seen 2 good bucks today." He's like, "Yesterday." He's like, "It might be a good trip." So we'll see how he does. But
yeah, see, I'm jealous.
Like
wildly
snacks.
jealous.
Yeah, whitetail snacks. That's probably a whole genre in itself, right?
I like the thermos of coffee, the thermos of like a hot broth soup.
I would think crunchy Cheetos wouldn't be the go-to. You get a roughly bag plus really crunchy snacks.
Yeah, all like the Instagram stuff I follow on whitetails, the Little Debbie's is like their their protein bars.
Oh man, I love some Little Debbie's.
I don't know.
Cancer.
Delicious.
I can't tell you the last time I honestly can't even remember the last time I've had one, if I've had one.
Zebra cakes are the go-to.
Oh. I'm gonna need to talk to you about my whitetail snacks.
Yep, we'll get you lined up.
I can't wait to do a video on your whitetail snacks. On a whitetail hunt.
Let it go.
We'll do a whole
podcast
hunt dedicated to whitetail snacks.
People can reach out and send us their suggestions, and we'll go.
I love that idea.
I'll
we
just
always
let
do
it
food
go.
for backcountry for Western hunts.
I love it.
Switch over.
I'll let myself go to be a whitetail hunter for those days that I'm whitetail hunting. But the only problem is I'll be stuck in a tree and having to shit my pants. So
with the heater bodysuit on, you can't like zip it off because it's all like stuck on.
Yeah, that would be a real problem.
Yeah.
Shout out to people, by the way, for sending in Halloween stories.
That was awesome.
We had such good feedback from that, and then ever since I've had even more creepy, weird, random stuff.
That video you got sent to you?
Did you like that one?
That was so creepy.
I loved how everybody right out the gate. I put that in the Slack channel and content, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's AI."
Man,
I'm like, I don't think so.
Look how grainy it is, and kind of.
I don't think people would. I don't think they'd make that up.
And the person who it came from.
Yeah, it seems legit to me. I gotta believe people. If people are gonna believe what I said, then I gotta give them credit for that one.
Did you see the one comment on YouTube? It was like, "Oh, that story's fake." About Trail's alien.
Just straight up, that story's fake.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
Gotta love the internet.
Sure. I guess he was there and knew.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you do? But yeah, thanks for sending those in. I wanted to. Well, I got on to Black Friday. One of them I wanted to note Saturday the 23rd.
Okay.
Your favorite pack company.
Initial cent?
Yep, 10% off.
10% off initial cent on the 23rd?
Yep. Which you don't usually see discounts on top end packs.
So buy an 8K. Let's go.
Buy an 8K. You heard it here first.
No. It's the only pack you need.
Should I buy one?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. So
I potentially could be packing out a bowl that day with my 8K.
Every time you say 8K, I think you say AK.
8K?
Yeah.
8K, 8K?
I think initial ascent should have a K 47.
An AK-47? Okay.
The math was it mathing right there.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good day. 10% off. Damn.
Yep. So check it out. Like I said, daily deals. Black Friday is going to be a hell of a deal here for us. So I know the guys in the warehouse are probably super pumped about it.
Oh, I bet they can't wait.
Yeah, trying to get all the orders out the door. But yeah, look for daily deals. With that, so I already kind of floated the topic at hand. But last year when we talked about the same time of year, we were talking about a series of proposals that the division had put out for mule deer in the state of Utah. There was a lot of outcry, a lot of discussion. on the table. There were things like point restrictions, 4-point or better, complete weapons restrictions, including, going back to traditional longbow or recurve, flint and ball, muzzle loaders, rifles with no scopes. There's all kinds of funky restrictions, I guess, built into that.
And wasn't there like straight wall cartridge type thing too, or is that?
I can't remember that, but there were some funky ones. And
that's what they originally came out with, right?
That's what they originally proposed, and then
they had 4 things.
Yeah,
yeah, they had all kinds of stuff going on. They had some units that were going to be all 3. So there was going to be short.
Will you recap it real quick?
Yeah. So shortened seasons was one of them. So some units they were talking about shortened in seasons, maybe 2 weeks for archery, 5 days for rifle, and then I wanted to say a shortened muzzleloader season. I don't know how many days, but I think I wanted to say it was 5 as well. The other one was a restricted weapons, meaning restricted muzzleloaders, restricted archery equipment, restricted rifles, meaning no scopes. And then antler point restrictions, meaning you would only be able to shoot a buck if it had 4 points or better on at least one side. And then they had some units that had all of them going on. They had some units that was just one management action. They had other units that were, only one of the others. And basically kind of the plan is to enact that, do it, and then study the results, right? So did this, and they kind of did it under the name of, is this any of these going to increase deer populations within respective units? And it went through the RAC process, and each RAC voted and went to the Wildlife Board. The Wildlife Board did not approve it, and basically kind of, I don't want to say punted it, but it felt like they kind of punted it to a mule deer committee that got put together, which I was a part of. So I got asked to be on that committee. I sat on that committee, and we met 10 times. I want to say that was from early spring, all the way through June. Up in Springville, we all got together, a bunch of different people from all different backs of life. We had farmers, ranchers, county commissioners, state legislators, myself kind of coming from the hunting industry. We had backcountry hunters and anglers. We had the Utah Archery Association, tribal members. We had just this wide array of people that were selected that were put onto this committee. And we were kind of tasked with helping develop a mule deer plan for the next, 5 to 6 years, if you will. And we were kind of going into that knowing what the division had proposed, knowing that it hadn't been approved. We kind of knew the ins and outs of why some people didn't like it, why the board didn't approve it. So we were kind of tasked with putting together a plan to address some of these kinds of things and try to come up with a plan. Presented with a ton of data, all kinds of scientific data that the state has collected in conjunction with universities like BYU or Utah State. And looked at all this different data, looked at all this information. We basically tried to come up with some sort of mule deer management plan for the next several years that we could kind of direct. And that plan has been put together. It's all in writing now, and it's going through the proposal process. So it'll go through the various RACs, the RAC meetings, which is regional advisory councils in the state of Utah. And it'll be heard. People get a chance to show up. And I guess part of this podcast, one of the main reasons that I wanted to put it out there and kind of put the information in front of people, hopefully in a digestible manner, is that so that you guys can show up to your local RAC meeting. So show up to it. If you like what you hear, show up and show support. If you don't like what you hear, you want to see something different, show up and, stand up and say your piece. So,
you can also submit online comments.
You can also submit online comments as well.
And that's going to happen the next couple weeks.
Yep. So after the RAC processes are through, it'll go through to the Wildlife Board. The Wildlife Board will make a final decision, I want to say on December 12th. And hopefully, hopefully it'll go through. Maybe it'll be changed or slightly or whatever, but hopefully we'll get a plan in place that we can use to manage. And based on the feedback, the popularity of last year's podcast, I thought it would be good to kind of run through this current plan and kind of touch on some of the things that I think are the most noteworthy, and kind of talk about the implications and why. And then again, I should have maybe a little bit of insight because I was on that committee. I can offer some background into it and maybe why some decisions were made. But with that, I guess I'm going to run through real quick. So if you guys want to go to the RAC meetings, I'm going to tell you November 6th, the Northern Utah RAC at the Weber County Commission Chamber. Central Region RAC, November 7th, 6 p.m. at the Wildlife Resources Conference Room in Springville. Southern Utah RAC, which I will be at November 12th, 6 p.m. at the Charles R. Hunter Room, SUU. The Southeastern RAC is going to be November 13th at 5:30 p.m. at the John Wesley Powell Museum in Green River. And then the Northeastern Utah RAC would be November 14th, 6 p.m. at the UNA Conference Center in Vernal. And then also there's associated dates with when you can submit online comment. I think if you guys got an evening, I don't know if you ever been to a RAC meeting? Probably not.
Nope.
You guys are Nevada residents. I would say they're really interesting. Like if you got an evening and you can get out and go to one of these, just even if you don't have an opinion one way or the other and you don't plan on showing up and showing support or putting your 2 cents in, I think it's worthwhile just to go and listen, just to hear what people. It gives you like a much wider breadth of understanding of why the decisions were made and then what the public's feedback is. I just think it helps you be more educated.
Yeah.
Brady's all about being more educated and reading books. So.
Yep. In that document of the Utah Mule Deer statewide management plan is 67 pages long, and I have it right here. 67 pages. That's a really good read, actually.
Yep. So I think we'll run through kind of the finer points, and then I would be interested in kind of getting your guys' take on what you guys think about them. So the new plan, if it's passed, like I said, December 12th by the Wildlife Board, will run until December of 2030, which is a total of 6 years. And the reason that we did that, normally they'd be like 5 years. And we thought a little bit longer time frame would be good, and we broke that down into 2-3 year periods. So essentially what we did is left the door open after 3 years to maybe do a little midterm reevaluation and take a look at it. And then if we felt like there needed to be some management decisions made at that point based on the previous 3 years of data and hunts, that we could make some changes. So that's kind of a new change, be 6 years, 2-3 year cycles.
I kind of like that a lot.
I liked it a lot. When we talked about it internally as a committee, it made a lot of sense. I like the fact that it's a little bit longer. The thing about wildlife management generally is I think people think, they think, at least Utah anyway, it seems like they try to reinvent the wheel often.
Like every year.
Yeah.
We'll say it.
Yeah. Want it here and we want it now, right? Yeah. So I felt like maybe a little bit longer plan and then given 3 years to kind of let it ride and collect some data and maybe try to pull some results and then have a little midterm readjust if we need it. If we think it's going good and things are great, then we just keep rolling with it, but leave the door open a little bit to make some changes if we had to. So I like that too.
I want to make one point.
Yep.
That if you don't want to read the 67 or whatever page document this is, you can go to the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources YouTube page, and you can actually watch the statewide mule deer management plan discussion, and Dax will run through the whole thing, and it's actually really, really good listen. 42 minutes long, and
that's what Brady did last night.
Yeah, and actually, like one thing I like to.
So you read and watched.
I read and watched, and I'm a geek too, so I actually took a lot of scrershots while I was going through it. And a lot of this data's in here, but like a screenshot, add it to my mule deer research folder. Just like, hey, I want to check this again. Like, I have a screenshot right here in front of me about buck-tail ratios and how much they could adjust or add or decline the permit numbers based on buck-tail ratios. Like, man, that's pretty cool. And then I'm like figuring out where these cited sources are. I go and Google those on Google Scholar, and I actually read those, peer-reviewed papers on why that makes sense and why Utah using that as a defining point in the statewide management plan. I just love that stuff.
Yeah. When I read through the press release that the division put out, I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to read a comment. This is by a gentleman named Chris Marble, who is the representative from the Utah Archery Association. He was on the committee, and this will kind of give you an idea and maybe just like an understanding of the way I think the committee approached the management plan for the next 6 years. So he says the committee decided to prioritize growing more deer. We were presented with more scientific data than likely any other mule deer committee in Utah ever. We have invested significantly in gathering that data, and we felt it compelling enough to act on it. So that kind of lays the groundwork on what we're going to get into, some of these like different management decisions that the committee decided to make and put into the plan, with that underlying goal essentially of increasing mule deer populations. So I think that is that's the goal, right? It wasn't necessarily increasing harvest success, increasing trophy potential, increasing, whatever it might be. Like the main goal was to try to increase mule deer populations in the state of Utah, which we've talked internally. I talked to Brady today at lunch. It gets interesting because I want to increase mule deer populations, but as a hunter, in your opinion, Lorenzo, is that the overarching goal for you?
Yes.
Yes. Is it more important than increasing harvest success or increasing the opportunity to mature buck?
Not necessarily.
Yeah. That's where it gets interesting, right?
Because you want everything, but you can't get everything in a way.
Yeah.
Well, it's the chicken and the egg thing, right? So like what does come first? But I feel like if you actually, the number of deer would ultimately lead to more opportunity and better outcomes of those other things. If that is the
driver.
Yeah, if that's the driver. Right?
Yeah.
Feels like that would be the case. But I will say though, if the overall goal is to increase mule deer populations, I don't necessarily see hunting as the way to do that. Like the single way to do that. I would focus a lot more on habitat loss, habitat restoration.
Yeah.
Competing resources.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if your sole goal is populations, there's a lot of other variables outside of hunting that I think affect it a lot more.
Yeah. And that's a good point. And if you go through the plan, I can knock a couple of those out real quick. The habitat objective within the plan is for the Utah Restoration Initiative to continue to treat 100,000 acres per year for the remaining 6 years of the plan, totaling approximately 600,000 acres of habitat restoration. And that includes things like fencing for highways where you have mortality is a major issue, increasing travel corridor passage, whether it's like an overpass or an underpass over a major, highway. Habitat restoration, including like planting and reseeding more drought-resistant plants, removing invasives, weeds, cheatgrass, also things like penny juniper, or even moving up onto the mountain into like mixed conifer habitat and trying to do some controlled burns. So I think that when I met with the committee, the easy part of this plan is that kind of stuff is easy. Yeah. Like habitat goals, habitat restoration work. I think we we have a good idea of what mule deer need to live and thrive. So I think like that's the easy part. And there's like very limited discussion as far as habitat goes. Everyone's like, yep, habitat, let's do it.
So you love to hear that.
600,000 acres. Hell yeah. Let's go. Let's do 1 million if we can. Right. So that part of the thing was pretty easy. And I agree with your point though, but you're exactly right. And that growing mule deer is, you don't necessarily grow mule deer through hunting. But maybe, which we'll dive into here a little bit. Maybe here in a second, we'll offer you some data, some information.
And growing mule deer doesn't always mean you're growing bigger bucks.
Yeah,
that's more competition on the landscape.
That's correct. That's kind of the debate where I landed, and I guess this is probably a good point to just jump in and say it. But one of the major notes of this plan, one of the biggest changes to the plan. One of the new proposed strategies would be to adjust general season deer hunting unit objectives, so buck-to-doe ratios, by modifying some of the units' buck-to-doe ratios to 15 to 17 bucks per 100 does in order to optimize herd productivity, reduce disease risk, and increase hunter participation. So currently, they have the state broken out into different units that are managed for different buck-to-doe ratios. And there's a number, especially in the southern region, that have been managed for 18 to 20, like a higher buck-to-doe ratio. And reality is when you look at all the data, a lot of those units are mostly like 20 to 22 bucks per 100 does based on recent data. So in most of your most popular units within the state of Utah, we're talking about lowering that buck-to-doe ratio probably $5 per 100 does. How do you feel about that?
Well, I have a lot of questions in that. Do we know the percentage of does that are bred every year based on a certain number of buck to does?
Yep, high 90s.
Yeah, it's like 89%, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
So how do we get more does out there?
So that's the interesting information that the kind of some of the data that we looked at.
Because if you want to grow deer populations, you would obviously do it through does.
Yeah.
Does can create another deer.
Yeah, another deer, right? Where a buck can't.
As long as those does are being bred by a buck. But if you're still running a 90%, pregnancy rate on the does, conception rate on the does with 10 bucks, then so be it. As long as there's that level of conception rate. Does that make sense?
Yep. So studies suggest that as long as you have that like 10 to 15 bucks per 100 does, a very high percentage of the doe, every doe in the population gets bred. So we're talking like 90+%.
Here's the data. Pregnancy rates in Utah are high, averaging 85% for yearlings and 95% for adults greater than 2 years old.
So 95%. But within that, there will be less bucks on the landscape. Like if there'll be more people in the field, you'll be reducing that buck to doe ratio, and potentially 5 to 100. Which if you extrapolate that over across the unit, it's a pretty decent number. You're going to be lowering that buck to doe ratio.
Are you going to be lowering the conception rate though, or pregnancy rate?
No. Your conception rate's going to stay the same, but that's where you get into the social dynamic of hunting.
Yeah.
Like, to me, this is a hard one, and this is personally where I can look at the data, and it was really interesting. So he presents the data, and he's saying basically the bottleneck or the limiting factors for mule deer populations in the state of Utah are one, winter precipitation.
Yeah.
So we have a hard winter like we had in 20. What years did we have it, Brady? You had it?
Yeah, I have it right here. So 92, 93 winter kill. Followed by severe drought 2000, 2003, harsh winters in northern Utah 2007, 2008, and southern Utah 2009-10. Then we had hard winter in northern Utah in 2017, followed several consecutive years of extreme drought, led to declining trend in 2017, 2021. Favorable weather conditions, good growth in 2022, but record-setting severe winter conditions again in 2022, 2023. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 severe drought or severe winter kill years.
Yeah, and they identified that as being the most limiting factor to population growth. But I thought it was interesting because you'd think the second one would be summer maybe, but they identify in their data buck to doe ratios as being a limiting factor, the second limiting factor to productivity.
Do you want me to read off all that stuff on the buck doe ratio real quick?
Yeah.
So the stuff I've highlighted here, it's on page 6 of the mule deer management plan. Recent data suggests that managing at a higher buck to doe ratios may be detrimental to deer populations for several reasons. Hunters obviously prefer, higher buck doe ratios because they're typically associated with older, larger bucks, higher success rates, and less hunter crowding. Higher buck to doe ratios also limit hunter precipitation, increasing the risk of increased CWD prevalence and spread of CWD. And there's a couple cited sources there for where they get the CWD with all that. And then Utah looked at a variety of several factors including deer population size, strongly suggests that maintaining deer herds for higher buck to doe ratios decreases herds productivity. Okay? And then it goes on. It appears that deer populations managed in excess of 20 bucks per 100 does only shows positive growth during optimal weather and precipitation patterns. Another study that's in review right now that I highlighted, I want to try to find it and review it. Conversely, herds with lower buck to doe ratios were more likely to experience population growth even during less than ideal conditions, making deer populations more resilient and adapted to hard winters, drought, and other challenges regularly faced by deer populations.
See, and that's what's interesting. So we've been in this cycle where we've had severe drought, we've had some tough winters, and we're in a cycle where we haven't really had a lot of good, solid years, which I think if we did and we had a high buck to doe ratio, I think we'd be fine, right? I think productivity would be good, but it sounds to me based on the data they've collected that a lower buck to doe ratio, even in tough weather conditions, makes that population more productive, more resilient to those, which is interesting.
That is really interesting.
Yeah,
I would love to know why.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, Brady and I were talking earlier, like, why would a higher buck-to-doe ratio make a herd less productive? And the only two things that I can think of would be, deer eat, right? So food available on the landscape, and then space, right? Just space. And I mean, it's just like you said earlier, a buck can't have a fawn, right? Only a doe can have a fawn. And we know that, one buck can breed a whole bunch of does and get them pregnant, and you're going to, populate and grow that way. So there's something in it, even though to me, logically, and I'm admitting this, like logically, it doesn't make sense to me. Because if you look across a lot of these units in our area, you look at those units and you would be like, man, look at all this space. There's space everywhere. There's sagebrush all over the place. There's bitterbrush. Things are in great shape. There's no way that we are space or feed limited. But yet the data is suggesting that there's something in that, and that a higher buck-to-doe ratio causes a population to be less productive.
In the one graph that's at the 26-minute mark of that Utah mule deer statewide management plan, it shows mule deer population growth rate versus buck-doe ratios, and the only time that population actually grows is 10 to 15 buck-doe ratio. Anything more than that, you don't have a population growth.
So interesting.
And that's a lot.
Isn't it?
Very, my head's not connecting the dots there.
And I hear it all the time, and I bring that up because I hear it constantly. It's like people are out and about, and they're like, man, there's just habitat all over the place. There's no reason that these deer couldn't be productive, and there's no way it could be, carrying capacity. There's no way it could be space or feed limited, but yet the data, and I got to hand it to Utah and the amount of collar data that they've collected, and they're continuing to collect as part of this. I mean, part of the plan is to collect more data, collar more animals, collect more information, which I applaud. I think it's a great idea. The more research you have, the better. But it's really interesting that winter precip and then buck-to-doe ratios is being like kind of the two factors. And then summer precip, or summer range being the third. But it's really interesting to me that because logically, objectively, you're out there on the landscape, you look at it, you're like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that the data is suggesting it. So
and they even go to show that lower buck-to-doe ratios allow for more harvest and more permits. And then the graphic that they talk about too. So if we had 21 buck-to-doe ratio, you could give out 73,000 permits, but if you drop that down to like 15 or 16, you could give out 100,000 deer permits. You give out.
I need to understand that more. It's not connecting.
Okay, so if you lower your buck-to-doe ratio, you in essence you'd need to harvest more bucks off the landscape, right? So you would have to increase the amount of permits. In the field.
That makes sense to get it from 21 down to 15, but once it's at 15. Why is there 100,000+ tags?
That would be because your harvest success also comes down. So there's
right.
Yeah. So here's potential outcomes. So
right. Yeah.
And I guess I should say right now, the units that would go to 15 to 17 bucks per 100 does. We're talking the Boulder Beaver, the Cache, Cedar, Stansbury, Monroe, Nebo, North Slope, Panguitch Lake, Wasatch, West Desert, and Mount Dutton. Possible outcomes if you go to a 15 to 17 buck per 100 doe ratio versus 18 to 20. You're talking, like Brady said, 20,000 more permits, approximately statewide, taking that from like 70,000 permits to potentially like 90 to 100,000 permits. Reduce risk of disease, which we can get into. I don't know enough. We were talking earlier. CWD for me is like,
yes. Let's talk about this.
We'll get burned for this, but it's kind of like COVID. You get information from both sides. I don't know exactly what to believe.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't understand if it's.
Know.
I don't know. I know it's not good, but I don't know how prevalent it is. I don't know how fast it spreads. I don't know if it's been here forever. I don't know if it's going to be like this massive population, decline and detriment.
And is it really good then? Should it be killing off older age class bucks to reduce CWD? Yeah. Like the CWD's, like we said, been around for a while.
I should say I think that's a reason that can be tacked on. I just don't know if it's like a primary reason built. Because I just don't know. I don't know enough about it.
And I know we said it before. Like CWD is the COVID. You said it earlier. I know I've said on other podcasts. Like CWD is
I know it existed. I know it killed people.
Yeah, but it's like,
I get information from both sides. It's like you don't really know exactly what to believe. Yeah. So that one, kind of, grain of sand, take it for what it is. Lower harvest success, you will lower your harvest success because there'll be less.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then the big one, the plus would be potentially more productive herds. You'd produce more fawns.
Yeah.
Which in turn, you produce more fawns, you grow the herd, you have more bucks. So the ratio is lower, but you have more bucks on the landscape based on the fact that you're just growing more deer.
Yeah.
So that's the committee decided to go with that one. That's the one that I probably hear being like kicked around the most, that people seem to be the most upset about. Because reality is there'll be less deer on the landscape and there'll be more hunters in the field. Like you're gonna have more people out and about. You're gonna
less bucks on the landscape.
Mm-hmm. Less bucks.
Yeah, not necessarily
not necessarily less deer. And if it works out the way that they think that it will, your herd should grow, and over time you should have more deer in the field. I get it, and I agree with it to the fact that like I want to try because I do want to grow more deer. But then there is like also this like selfish side of me that's like, man, I sure like a high buck to doe ratio too. It's fun to see bucks, right?
Yeah,
it's fun to feel like you're hunting, and I do genuinely believe that the better your buck to doe ratio is, the more stratified your age class is within that population. So I feel like the opportunity to find a big buck, is better.
I'm going to show everybody how bad I am at math here, but I mean, obviously this is a long-term thing, right? But if you had 21 bucks per 100 does, right? Or you manage that down to 17 bucks per 100 does, mm-hmm. but you go from 100 does total to 200 does total, you've actually got 34 bucks and not 21. Because if you're doing 17 by 100, but you get the doe class from 100 to 200, or the doe population, from 100 to 200, because you grew the population, you've actually got 34 bucks on the landscape instead of 17.
Yeah, but you're going to continue to hunt those too, right? So you're going to.
But you have more.
What you mean?
But you would have more deer on the landscape, even though the buck to doe ratio is lower, 17 per 100 as opposed to 21 per 100.
That's the goal.
Yeah, so if you can get the doe population to 200, you're actually dealing with 34 bucks instead of 21. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the goal, I think, is that, and the underlying goal of the committee, I think, when we talked, is like, how can we put more deer on the landscape? And if you have more deer, you'll have more bucks to hunt, right?
Yeah, so my point being is, but we're not talking about less bucks to hunt with more tags in the field. Maybe in the first couple years or first however long it's going to take.
Over the long term, if you retain the same buck to doe ratio over time, and you allocated your permits based on maintaining that objective, you will have a maintained objective of 15 to 17 bucks per 100 does year over year, but you would be offering more people more permits because there's more bucks on the landscape.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
that's the math.
And the reality is like that. I mean, in my mind, it's a good goal because you're giving more people the opportunity to go hunting. And that's where you get into like that social dynamic of like what do people want. And I thought it was interesting that we sent out a survey. I want to say that like 29% of the people that were sent the survey returned it. I want to say it was like 3,500, close to 3,500 people returned their survey.
Yep, 3,500.
And I thought the results were just, pardon me, but I thought they were hilarious because I mean, you could tell you could have said what the results to the survey were.
They want everything and nothing in return.
They want everything all the time.
Yeah.
They want big bucks. They want to hunt often.
Yeah.
And they want to feel less crowded.
Yeah, they want less people in the field, but they want more hunting opportunity, and they only want to shoot big animals.
Yeah.
And the funny other part was hunters were also in favor of restrictions being placed on other types of hunters.
Yeah.
So I like my method, but I want to mess with your method.
Correct. We love to eat our own in the hunting world. Makes perfect sense.
While we're talking about the buck doe ratios and high buck doe ratios, another interesting thing was too, in this paper here, page 14. For mule deer, since males and females have different niche requirements and are generally segregated in space outside of the mating period, competition between sexes had typically been assumed to be minimal. However, recent research from Utah suggests that increasing the proportion of males in a population negatively affects female body fat reserves entering winter, regardless of population density. And so it says, although data indicate declining adult female fat reserves as buck-to-doe ratios increases, we do not yet know when the intrasexual competition is occurring. Hypotheses include habitat overlap during rutting activities, which is also when does are trying to replenish depleted fat reserves.
That makes sense.
Habitat overlap on winter ranges, and increased agnostic behavior during the breeding season as females attempt to displace unwanted males.
Interesting.
So you have them competing kind of against each other.
Yeah, I guess it figures. I mean, if you think when those deer are rutting, they still got to eat. And if you got a buck, he's probably pushing the does off the best feed.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
That makes
We
sense
all
when,
watch it
when
happen.
you think about it.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is like when you think about a landscape, you think like everything is habitat, but everything isn't habitat. There's like certain things that they like to eat, and there's probably places where it's better than others.
And they're so damn picky.
Yeah. Yeah, they're much more specialized than something like a big dumb elk, right, Brady?
I would take the dumb out of there, but they are very picky eaters.
Yeah, mule deer are.
Much more so than that
Very
elk.
more
So
selective.
that would make sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
Food and space.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Some of this stuff you just have to think your way through, right?
Yeah, well, that's like when you first asked me what would be my objective, I immediately went to, having 200 does on the landscape instead of 100.
Sure.
So instead of $17, you've got 34, right? But it isn't that simple.
No,
It's not that simple.
no, it's not that simple.
So
But-
you really do have to think through
Yeah, you
all
got
of
to
this.
you got to work. Yeah, there's a lot of it. It's that whole. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing of like people when the herds seem to be down and populations seem low. Typically, the very first thing that hunters cry is like, "Cut the tags, cut the tags."
Yeah.
Just eliminate hunting
But it's
altogether.
not that simple.
When in reality, what we're proposing here is that we're going to actually increase tags. So you're actually going to increase the number of people in the field, and you're going to take more bucks off the landscape. Which I think it's going to be tough for people to stomach a little bit.
For sure.
And this is when this kind of stuff, hopefully it makes sense to people that are listening. Hopefully they can kind of see the rationale in it. And again, it's like, it's kind of out of the box. It's different. But, I mean, the best available information that we have suggests it. So for me, at least when I was on the committee, I think it's worth trying.
One thing I thought was really interesting, too, they kept saying multiple times that we can't predict drought and we can't control winter stuff. So, like, can't manage the weather, but we can manage buck-to-doe ratios.
I don't know, man. I watched Dubai. They can do what they want with the weather.
Chemtrails?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I think that's going to be the hard part for people to stomach, and it's not necessarily to stomach. I just don't know that they'll be able to understand the rationale.
Well, it's counterintuitive. So you really have to. You really got to like get yourself to sit down and think through it and listen and take this all in,
and the
to appreciate what the outcome is.
Yeah, and the reality of it is like there is part of me that's like, I do want more deer, but when I have a permit, I would really like to have a great hunt.
Yeah, I would really like those buck-doe ratios to be a lot
Do you know
higher.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that there is
There's
that
a balance.
There is that part of me that's like, ugh. But then I'm like, yeah, I get it. It probably is the thing to do to help a herd be more productive, produce more fawns, produce more deer, produce more opportunity generally. But then there's like this selfish side of me. It's like, man, I really did like that 21 bucks per 100 does ratio.
And less hunters.
And less hunters.
Like when you go on an enjoyable hunt, there's a lot to be said for like, everyone's different, right? But speaking for myself personally, an enjoyable hunt for me is kind of feeling like I have an area to myself, and you don't have to deal with people walking up the canyon while you're sitting on a deer. You're not dealing with people on every ridge and feeling like you're kind of boxed out of somewhere because someone's where you wanted to be earlier or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
It's like those hunts where you feel like you kind of have an area to yourself. Those are the most enjoyable hunts, whether you kill something or not.
Yeah.
So to know that is impeded on, that's not a great feeling.
Yeah. It's kind of hard, but then, I do agree with the objective of increasing mule deer herd. Like if it works, and if it works out the way that they think it will based on their data, you increase deer. Yeah, I would love that. I would love to see more people have the opportunity to get out and go hunting.
Me too, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a genuine care, like more opportunity. People feeling like they actually can go hunting, where that's probably not the sentiment right now.
Yep. The other part of this is, I don't know if it's another part, but when you think about 15 to 17 bucks per hunted does versus 18 to 20, it's not drastic, and there is some gray area. I mean, it's going to depend on weather and how the hunt goes and everything. But I had a guy ask me, if you go to a buck to doe ratio of 15 to 100, do you still feel like you'll be able to find a big buck? And I think I will. I do. What do you think? What do you feel?
I feel like
does that number intimidate you at all?
No. And it's like not something I'm still fully concerned about when I'm researching other places to go hunting. I'm like, I still feel like if conditions are right, terrain is nasty, maybe I can get away from people, like, sure, potentially I could probably find an old mature buck that has made it through the seasons. I think there's always a big mature buck on any unit in the West.
Regardless of how low the buck to doe ratio is.
Regardless of how low it is, yeah.
I kind of feel that way too. There won't be as many of them, and I get that, but I still feel like if I have, the ability and kind of some working knowledge, which I've built up over years, I still feel like I'll find a big buck that I would be happy with.
I've never been intimidated by those ratios.
And that's what I find interesting. I hear a lot of people are like, higher buck to doe ratios, we need more big bucks on the landscape, and I get it, but there's often times where I just think, like, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's still a big buck out there.
Yeah.
You just got to find it.
And I mean, the one true, like really true thing is more deer doesn't mean more big deer. It's not necessarily how that works.
Sure.
Yeah.
Reality is there probably won't be, especially if you maintain ratios that are lower,
Yeah.
There's less likely that there'll be a larger stratified age class within that population.
Yeah. So. It still is. I mean, this is on the same thread, not to get too off topic, but it still is. It's amazing to me when you look through comments and the feedback we get and all this stuff of how many people still just do not understand that old does not mean big and big does not mean old.
Yeah.
Those two things are not always dependent on each other. It's actually very much the opposite when you truly look at it. Old does not mean big.
And I'm glad you brought it up. So the buck that I killed this year on a general season unit in Utah, that buck was at least 6.5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's an old buck for a general season unit in the state of Utah. That buck might have been 160 inches.
Yeah.
He's a 3x4. He's probably 160, 165.
Yeah.
Old buck, teeth, molars, ground, that centered crest clear through on 2 different molars. So he's probably 6.5, maybe 7.5. So you're right. Reality, and he's a 3x4.
Yeah. You know how many absolute giants I've seen killed, literally, and aged that I've been around that are 3-4 years old?
Yep.
Like, I mean, big, really big, that have only bred for 1 year and then are killed. Like, big doesn't mean old, and old doesn't mean big. It's like the comment we got on these 2 deer right here.
Oh, yeah.
It's like these 2 bucks right here are actually extremely old. This one's a Mexico management coos deer because he's so old and was bullying everything.
Yeah.
And that one's a old buck off of you've told the story, but I took one of my family friends who's a cop here in town. It was on private land. This buck had been there for a long time, and we ended up, it's a very old deer, not big.
Yeah. Some guy tried to ridicule that we have a dink mule deer behind the podcast. I'm like, that's an old buck.
That is a very
out.
old deer.
People ask me about it. I'm just like, yeah, Brady shot that one.
Yeah. Brady shot that one. No, he's first time hunter is a Metro Police guy, family friend. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'd love to take you hunting. You would love this. So I took him out there. We hunted for 3 or 4 days on private property. So everyone's mad that we're, who cares what it is, even if it's off private, but still, that is a very old deer.
But that's what goes into the whole social perception and the whole social media, people ridiculing other people for shooting things like, oh, that's a small buck. It actually, it might be small inches if you're talking about Boone and Crockett size. Yeah. But a lot of times it can be older deer. And sometimes it's gotten wrecked because people say, oh, that was an older aggressive troll. And you can tell it's like a 2-year-old deer. That's just like that's a fork and horn. So you get that, I get the hate both ways, but it's like people love to ridicule and it's like, you don't know that deer is old. Like I brought it before. I shot one of the biggest archery bucks I killed in, I'm going to say the state because whatever right now.
No way.
What?
No way. You're going to say
the state. When I killed in Montana when I was living up there, I think it was like a 155, 160 inch buck.
Yeah.
And it was 6.5 years old.
Yeah.
It's like, that would, I still got ridiculed for shooting a deer at one point. Someone goes, oh, you always shoot these small bucks on your family. I'm like, That was actually a 6.5-year-old deer. I mean, it's just not that place for growing Boone Crockett type antlers, but it's an older deer.
Yeah. It's just amazing to me that people still haven't put those two things together. Like, if you can't see the body of the deer, if you're trying to age a deer based on the horns, good luck. Yeah. Antlers. Sorry, Brady. Like, there's no possible way you can do it.
Yeah.
Old isn't big and big isn't old. It's literally that simple.
That should be a t-shirt.
Do it. T-shirt next to the respectable bear t-shirt.
Yep.
Takes a very special animal to be big, first of all.
Yeah. Oh.
Like,
remember,
take age out of it. Just takes a very special animal to be big.
For sure.
I can't remember the exact studies from that paper. What's the paper title? So when we had Brock on, they sampled a bunch of different mule deer bucks harvested in a lot of different states. And as bucks got certain age and they hit 170, that's basically topped out. And it's like age to not equal anything older than whatever it was. Rack on average is going to be 170 inches.
170 inches is kind of where almost everything tops out at. Yeah. And then anything that goes above and beyond that is like it's a special animal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's why those bucks that get to be like, 220, 230, 250.
It's just so one in
You're
a
like
million.
a freaking anomaly to the millionth degree.
Yes.
It's truly so incredible. Yeah. And they should be revered.
Mm-hmm.
Not like like a 400-inch bull, but kind of.
You know what? I would love to see some data on like how many of those animals that actually do get that big have like injury issues that had created them to be, or that had not created them, but to like helped in them pumping more blood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, some of those weird freaks that get all the kickers and stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it is
like
weird.
The whitetail I shot is that big because he was injured on his left pedicle, and the next year he grew double of everything.
Interesting.
It's like, I know I have a friend of mine, Skylar Richardson. His dad shot a buck off the Ponsegant that was a typical the year before, got injured. The next year had a typical side, but the side he was injured on was absolutely a freak, and it made him. Obviously, that added inches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something went awry.
It's like, how many of them truly make it that are that special, that are just, nothing happened to make them pump that much more blood?
Yeah.
And how many actually had like a helping hand in it?
Yeah, they're dynamic animal. I mean, it's crazy. There's so much that goes into it.
Crazy.
It's wild to think about. But I guess kind of to wrap up buck to doe ratios, I'm not that worried, to be honest, about going to 15 to 17. I hear a lot of talk about it. I don't think that it's a cash grab by the Game and Fish, and I don't think it's financially driven. I hear that a lot too. I don't think that's the issue. I genuinely get the feeling that they're trying to manage with the best available data that they have, best information to genuinely increase deer populations.
I do 100% understand where people are coming from when they think it's a cash grab, though.
Sure.
I do. Like, I fully see that argument.
Well, it's government, right?
Yeah. I see it, and I don't fault anybody for saying it.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing is, like, I know a lot of these people personally. Dax, it's the big game coordinator there for the division. I know the guy very well. I've never got anything other than I genuinely think that guy cares about wildlife. I think he would absolutely love to see populations healthy and everybody have the opportunity to hunt a big buck. I don't think he's in it for any other reason.
Our podcast with him, I think that came off.
He wouldn't be
clear.
making the kind of money he's making with the amount of education he has if he was doing it for the money. But I agree with you. I mean, anything government, it's like, I don't know. There was another part of this. Anything else you want to say about buck to doe ratios? Nope. That was a big one. There are some units that they're talking about maintaining 18 to 20 bucks per 100 does. Most of those units are units that are kind of a complex mix of private, public, just like different access issues. So you're talking places like the Box Elder, Chalk Creek, East Canyon, some of those units along the Wasatch. And then also the Pine Valley, which we'll get into. We'll talk about the Pine Valley. One note I wanted to make. So part of this new proposal, and this is something
you're making me very interested by laughing at Pine Valley. I can't wait to hear what's going on.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
It's one of those teasers we just throw it out there and then cover it way late in the podcast.
And it back in.
You teased me based on how you brought that up.
So part of this I thought was good. Part of the proposed plan also includes the ability to automatically adjust permit numbers annually up to 30% to respond to data from GPS tracking collars. animal health, current habitat conditions, and weather conditions. The plan also proposes expanding deer hunting opportunities for youth. And we'll talk about those youth opportunities, which I think you'll dig. I think a lot of people can get behind the increased opportunity for youth. But this 30%, the ability of the division and the biologists to either increase or decrease permit numbers based on GPS information, animal health, habitat conditions. They're going to have people that are opponents to this say, oh, that damn division, they're not going through the proper channels. But to me, I love this. I love the fact that this is included because I think it puts the responsibility back on the people that are most qualified to make these decisions. So in my opinion, I love this because it gives the biologists, it gives the division the ability to do their job. Mm-hmm. So I like this personally.
Yep. I like it as well.
I thought it was good. And not everybody's going to be happy about it because you'll probably see some permit increases when deer populations increase. You'll always have your naysayers. But for me, this is one that you talk about a state like Colorado and the battles we're battling there. We want to put the responsibility for cougar management in the people that understand the animal, that work with it every single day. I see this as no different.
Yeah.
You put the opportunity to manage the species and the permit numbers back on the people that do it for a living.
Yeah, I can't argue that.
And they got to keep in mind, too, it's a plus or minus 30%. So it's not always like, we're just going to increase permit numbers. Sometimes they could decrease permit numbers depending on what they see.
Decrease. And I think it allows them to be a little bit more reactive. So if it looks like you are slipping into a drought, you are having a bad weather year, I think that they can preemptively get out ahead of it that much more. Mm-hmm. Where prior you'd have to go through this entire process and jump through all the hoops. So I do love that. Okay, do you want to talk about the Pine Valley?
Can't wait.
We'll talk about the Pine Valley. We'll talk about a couple others. Then I want to talk about the youth ones.
Okay. Yeah, I want to talk about that extended archery.
Oh yeah, we could do that too.
Yes.
Yep. So, okay. So part of this plan, they want to implement antler point restrictions for 4 point or more on at least one side on the Pine Valley hunting unit. This restriction would only apply to adults. Youth would still be able to harvest any buck on that unit. So, Southern Utah, we're crazy about the Pine Valley. We just love that unit to death. And
you guys might love it to death.
We might. There was a gigantic push to make that antler point restriction on the Pine Valley. So as a committee, got together, talked about it. We were like, you know what? If you want to try it, let's try it. So it has been proposed. It'll be interesting to see how it goes.
There's so many data and studies to show how this is going to go.
Mm-hmm. It could boost it for the first year.
Yep. Couple years
into it. It could go up. And by then
the study has been done.
It has been.
Yeah. But overall it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's
in
my
the long
point.
term.
And then the
study has been done time and time again, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, and the problem is too. We got a lot of comments last time we talked about antler restrictions, and a lot of people were saying, "Well, the study in Pennsylvania does really well.
Works in whitetail.
Whitetail.
Brady.
We're talking about mule deer."
Yeah. All the studies suggest that long term, it doesn't necessarily achieve what people are hoping for, which is just bigger bucks, right? I mean, that's the heart of this. And buck to doe ratios, it'll impact it for a few years and not in the long term. And reality is it could be detrimental in the long term.
Do you know technically the definition of 4 points? Is it counting is it counting an eye guard as well?
No, I think it's 4 points
above the eye guard.
Yeah, I'd have to go back. Yeah, I'm quite certain it's 4 points above an inch above the ear. Yeah, above the eye guard. So, I did love the fact as a committee we talked about it, and the people in Southern Utah. There's been some special interest folks that have really been pushing and driving this. They want to see what it'll do. So it felt like, okay, you want to try it? We'll try it. And they're going to study it. So they're going to collar deer. They're going to look at the results, and they're primarily looking at it from a population perspective. Does this produce more deer? Which I don't see how a point restriction is going to produce more deer. As a committee, we were pretty bullish about still allowing youth the opportunity to harvest any buck because we want people to still, you live in St. George, it's your unit right out your back door. I still want youth to get involved and be able to go hunting. And man, what would be more depressing than having a nice buck out there in front of you and you're 14 and not be able to take it.
Yeah.
So, or 12. So I think it landed at a pretty happy medium. It'll be interesting to see what folks, and that's one of the big reasons why I want to go to the SRAG meetings. I just want to see what people have to say.
Yeah.
They were asking for it. We'll see if this meets their objectives for what they were hoping for. Okay, so restricted muzzleloader, restricted rifle hunts on the Beaver West. So they basically took the Beaver unit and divided it into two. So they're going to split that with I-15. And you'll have a Beaver West unit, and they're going to have restricted muzzleloader and restricted rifle hunts on that. Boulder Comparowitz and the cache hunting units, archery would not be restricted. So it would be restricted for muzzleloaders and rifles on those two units as well. The weapon restriction would be based on recently passed definitions of restricted weapons in Utah. So you're talking open sight muzzleloaders. No, you're talking. I'd have to go back and look. I think restricted muzzleloader means like an old style muzzleloader.
Yeah, because I thought because that's what I mean. Like the Ham's definition had an extra S on it, and that was also the straight walled cartridges that was added on there. I read it in one of these things. I don't know which.
I thought that was shotgun.
It's shotgun and straight wall.
Gotcha.
That's why the double S.
Yep. So they did pick some units. It's not the Beaver proper that everybody's probably familiar with if you hunt that area, but they did kind of break up that Beaver West unit and the Boulder and the cache. And they're going to restrict muzzleloaders and rifle seasons on those units. And then, once again, all done under the guys that they're going to study it and see what happens for population. I don't think people will have too much of a stomach ache about it. Maybe some folks in the cache. It'd be interesting to see what that northern region thinks about that. Archery. So there's a lot of discussion about archery hunts and making some of those traditional archery hunts. And basically the feedback that we got, and then, in working with the Utah Archery Association, was that we felt like archery was limited enough as it is with a compound bow. So they didn't really touch archery at all. So you'll be able to hunt any of those units with a regular bow.
Yeah, the Ham's handgun, archery, muzzleloader, shotgun, straight walled rifle cartridge.
Gotcha. So those are interesting, and I think I'm like genuinely pretty interested to see what the outcomes of those are. Like what happens. There is one other change. So the 1,000 Lake unit, which it was a limited entry unit. It was turned back into a general season unit. It's now being made a limited entry unit once again, and it would have restricted archery, restricted muzzleloader, and restricted rifle on the 1,000 Lake as a limited entry unit. And I kind of like where we landed with all this based on what was presented earlier last year. I felt like that was like way out there.
Yeah.
Too much, too quick, too fast. I feel like this is a pretty decent medium that like we're going to study some of the things. We're going to look at it on select units, but I don't feel like we ruffled a whole lot of feathers. I
think that's why they do that, though. Throw out a lot of crazy stuff.
Do you think so?
That way you get a lot of public comment.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you don't do anything crazy, no one's going to really comment. That's why you get all these different opinions.
Desensitize and then walk it back just a little bit.
Yeah. You think so?
I kind of do.
Might be.
Yeah.
I don't. If the whole thing is increasing deer populations, and they're saying that they clearly know how to increase deer populations, which is buck to doe ratios, why even go down the path of these other things?
I think because public input has been so strong, like there's been such a desire for some of these to like test them out and try them, that they felt like they had to justify that by doing it, trying it, studying it, and see what happens. And then whether it works, which I don't think that it will, at least then you'll have the data to land on.
They would be doing I think you said in the last podcast, I told you so.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
I think it'll be a little bit of that. But at least...
It just seems like such a waste.
It does, but at least it's on a micro level than it was previously. I felt like the last one was like, man, that's a lot, and a lot of different units. A lot of people love to hunt. I felt like at least this one is like a little bit more manageable to stomach, if you hunt the Boulder, you're probably going to be a little bit bummed out. You can't shoot a scoped rifle, but at least, if you wanted to archery hunt, you can hunt with compound. I think that one was tough for a lot of people because there just aren't that many traditional deer hunters anymore with traditional bow. But I felt like it was, I think that the public demand was big enough that I felt like we needed to try it. But I'm with you. I don't think that it'll have impacts on population growth.
Yeah.
The science would suggest that it doesn't, that it won't.
Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts there. I mean, isn't that essentially ballot box biology then? You're letting uneducated public decide?
Yeah. For a couple units, yeah. I mean, I could see your point. You're letting, and maybe not even ballot box biology, because it's not necessarily even the majority. It's really kind of
just loud voices.
A loud voice, yeah. Some smaller loud voices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you read down through the comments, like when they did the release of this plan, like on Facebook, and you read down through the comments, I mean, there's a lot of people that chime in. A lot of people are pretty loud about it, And I feel like the Pine Valley is a weird one, because it's constantly in the mix. Everybody's always talking about the damn Pine Valley,
Yeah.
They just want to see something. They want to try something. So
that's an interesting thing you just brought up, though. Does a state actually take into account social comments? Or is it just through the comments directly on their form? Like you said, like I saw the Instagram comments, and I saw the Facebook comments. Like they were endless, like hundreds of comments on there. Will they actually use those and go to the final thing with those comments, as like taking those in suggestions? Or do you actually have to, if you want your voice heard, go through the comment formal process on their website? I don't know the answer to that.
yeah, and I don't know if I have a clear
Like if
answer
they're
for
like,
you.
yeah, we don't take those out, we don't listen to them, those all loud people, because it has to be through the comment thing on our website to actually be counted as a suggestion.
I think they definitely
comment.
look through the comments that are submitted through the proper channels, whether it's an email that's
Yeah.
included, or somebody shows up to a RAC meeting, submits a card, stands up at the mic, and actually says what they think. I think they take that into account. But I think I would be, again, this is my own personal Trailkreitzer opinion. I think that those social comments, the social posts, just like the general unrest, I would be lying. The people that call up the biologist, the people that say things to him after a hunt or a check station, I would be lying if I told you I didn't think those kinds of things went into like the general overall psyche and management of a unit. Yeah. I think that it probably does. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I think that's probably what happens. So anyway, food for thought, Pine Valley. If you guys are passionate about the Pine Valley, which a lot of people are, I'd say show up on the 12th. I wanted to jump down to youth. So this is actually some ones that I was like applauded, and I thought it was super cool, right? So going into this plan, we would be allowing all first-time youth general season buck deer applicants to receive one general buck preference point going into that draw.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't read that part yet.
Yeah, so currently you just go into it. Only 44% of first-time youth applicants are successful in drawing a deer permit.
40%?
44.
Oh.
Yep, 44%. So you have the majority of youth first-time applicants don't get a buck deer permit, right? And I guess this could be frustrating to people that don't have kids. They want their lump of the pie to be bigger. Me personally, I've got a kid that's 12. First time he applies will be this year. To me, this is like, hell yeah. The chance increase my kid's opportunity to get out and go hunting, I think is freaking awesome. So that one I was stoked about.
What do they think that'll take that percentage to?
I don't know exactly. I can tell you that in 2024, first-time youth buck deer applicants, so archery applicants, youth, right, first time, 79% of archery applicants were successful, 21% were unsuccessful. The late normal and illegal weapon, 40% were successful, 60% unsuccessful. Muzzleloader, 88% successful. 12% unsuccessful, and then the any legal weapon early hunt on units that had that, there was 38% that were successful, while 62% were unsuccessful. I thought that was interesting in noting if you're listening and you're looking to maximize your kid's potential as a first-time applicant, the muzzleloader hunt is your best odds. Which I still think is a really good hunt for a kid. Even muzzleloaders, I don't think a kid would have any issue shooting a muzzleloader at 110, 120 yards. I think it's completely doable. So I would say that's your best opportunity. So currently, I know that 20% of the general season buck deer permits are allocated to youth hunters, And that 20% split's broken down into 60% any legal weapon, 40% of the 60% being the regular season, 20% being the early rifle season, 20% for archery, and 20% for muzzleloaders. I would think that going into that draw with one preference point, you'll probably increase that to, greater than 50%, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe more, which is, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
My personal opinion. I don't think you're going to have too many people show up and, bitch and moan about youth.
I would hope not.
I would hope not either.
Creating the next generation of hunters is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. I think it's super cool that they took the initiative and then the opportunity to put in some sort of give youth an advantage. Like, it's not saying all youth, it's saying first time applicants.
Yeah.
So sorry, Brady.
You're saying I'm going to have to do something.
You don't have any kids. Not yet.
Dang.
Just think 12 years from right now today.
From right now.
Well,
Okay, right now.
Well,
today.
12
actually-
years, 9 months.
From the drop. Yeah. 12 years from the drop.
Your kid could go into the draw with one preference point.
Hell yes.
See, you like that, don't you?
Yeah, I
Feels
do.
good.
Feels good.
I like it.
Now you can get a tag.
Okay.
She, whatever it is.
All right, there's one more I want to talk about, and this one I think is going to ruffle some feathers. So, part of the proposal is only allowing hunters to apply for dedicated hunter COR point or apply for a general season buck deer permit point, but not both types of permits in the same application season.
Ooh.
How do you feel about that?
So do you have to choose
You have to choose
dedicated?
or general season deer.
Can I build points for either one?
Nope.
So if I want to go the dedicated route, I could apply that year. If I don't, I get a dedicated point, but then I don't gain my
Your
general
general
point.
season preference point.
I like it.
You like it? Why?
I think so.
You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Because the thing is right now, okay,
Mhm.
I draw dedicated. I can't put in for general points anywhere now, so I'm locked out. So it's kind of similar to what it is now.
Once you're in the program.
Once I'm in the program.
Yeah,
So, but then once I'm out, I don't have enough points to draw the general because of point creep anyway. So now I'm sitting on the fence waiting. So it's like then it decides to, okay, what do you want more? The dedicated allows you to hunt the 3 years, kill the $2. Everyone should know the things, but or do the one hunt for the general.
Mm-hmm.
Allows you to pick and choose. And I mean, obviously some are going to go either way. Some just want to archery hunt, so they're just going to do general every single year. Might be better odds for that. Might make one harder than the other, but
Yep.
I mean, it kind of, to me, makes sense off the top of my head right now, just spitting.
So it was interesting when we looked at it, 88% of the dedicated hunter applicants also applied for general season permits in 2024. So 88% of the people applied and built points for both. So I think what people were doing, myself included, I would apply for dedicated hunter, I would apply for general season deer, and I would get a point for both.
Yep.
And when I had enough points to draw into the dedicated hunter program, I would draw into that. I would hunt that for 3 years, come out of that, and I would have all the points that I had accrued for general season deer, which meant for me that very next year, if I was out of the program, I could apply for a general season deer hunt and draw it.
Potentially draw it.
Yeah.
Because you can't build the points for it, but you stay at the same point level.
Depending on what unit hunt you're applying for. But for me, if I applied for an archery hunt, general season, usually 4 points was more than enough, it took me 4 points to draw the dedicated hunter program last time I drew into it. So I had 4 general season deer points essentially as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out of the program and now I've got 4 points. I can draw whatever muzzleloader, pretty much, muzzleloader or archery permits.
So it almost makes it when you could do that, especially as a resident, you could almost kind of figure out a way to guarantee yourself a tag every single year.
Pretty close.
If you want to just jump units every so often to go into one that's a little bit easier,
Sure.
then you bank those points again, get your dedicated, get that for 3 years. So yeah, it kind of makes it, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know if fair is the right word, but just more even for a lot of people. Or
Yeah. So one of the things, and people are probably going to be pissed because this is one of those things where it was great to have your cake and eat it too. I loved it. When we talked about this and on the committee, I was like, oh man, I really love doing that.
yeah,
But
I mean, you do.
I love it. I love having a deer tag, and it was like some gamesmanship a little bit. Like I was doing it. I know obviously 88% of the people are doing it, right? But I think in eliminating that, making you choose, it's going to open up opportunities for people for both dedicated hunter and general season deer, because you can only pick one, right? You have to apply for one or the other. So I think you're not buying it. You buying it?
I'm buying it.
I think it should increase your odds for both,
Yeah.
which I like.
Yeah, because I did it before too. I drew a general season tag, and then the next year I do dedicated.
Yeah. It
So
should,
like I did the opposite of what you're saying to get you dedicated first, and it's like I thought it was phenomenal, and I
Yeah.
wanted to do it again.
yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's probably not the best for everyone.
For everyone. I think it should give more people the opportunity to hunt more often. It should reduce point creep for both dedicated hunter and general season deer. But it's probably going to be a little bit tough for folks to stomach, but I think generally it's probably needed. Good idea. And then
would you ever lose points? Like, let's say I just want to keep going for dedicated for a while, and I have built up a lot of
and
general.
then you wanted to apply for general season?
And then, let's say I went for 5 years in a row trying to get dedicated.
Nope, you'd maintain those.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
you'd maintain them, but you can only apply for one or the
One or
other.
the other, yeah.
Yep. So you could build like 2 dedicated hunter points. Then the next 2 years you could build 2 general points. I guess you could do that if you wanted, rather than just like staying the course and drawing one and then going to the other.
Yeah, go back, just keep building it up a little bit.
Yep. And then, man, probably the last one, we decided to create an extended archery only option
Here we go.
to avoid people from applying and drawing other units. So typically in Utah, what people would do is they would apply for an archery tag, and they might apply in some unit that's like undersubscribed or super easy to draw. You draw it with no points, and they never had any intention of drawing that unit. They really never wanted to hunt that unit. All they really wanted to do was to hunt the Wasatch extended season. And that Wasatch extended season, like the original intent was just to like remove urban interface deer, right? That would come down and wasn't enough habitat going on. So they wanted to give people the option to harvest and kill either a buck or a doe. And pretty much at this point, it's become just like a trophy buck hunt, right? So people would apply, they would draw these easy archery tags in another unit. They would never hunt that unit, and then they would go hunt the Wasatch
Take
extended.
an opportunity away from someone else to hunt that general unit, but they only wanted to hunt the extended, so why not make an extended only option?
So that's what we did. We decided to make an extended archery only option that people could apply for and draw, so that hopefully they wouldn't draw these other easy options. And it would leave that open to other people. And if people don't apply for those would be available on a first come, first served basis.
Can they still draw the easy to draw other archery and hunt the extended?
Yep.
Yeah, but still be able to do the same thing. So that's what I was asking. Why don't we just get rid of that? Because like I'm a dedicated hunter holder right now. I can technically go up there and hunt it.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just get rid of that, and you only have to apply for extended archery?
That's what I wanted to do.
That's how it should be.
That's what I thought. I thought.
See, it seems weird for me, drawing a dedicated hunter, being able to hunt archery, muzzleloader, rifle. If there's an early rifle unit, I can hunt that as well. And hey, I can go up and hunt
for a unit you didn't apply
for on a hunt that someone else maybe wants to hunt that all the time, and I can just go up there and take some opportunity from it and add competition to it.
Yeah.
I fought for that pretty hard. That's what I wanted to do. Was like I just wanted to make it a Wasatch extended archery hunt only, and that nobody that drew an archery tag anywhere else in the state could hunt it. It was just its own thing, right? And you applied for it, and we set a permit number, and if you applied for it, that's what you want to hunt it. That's what you hunted. I fought for it pretty hard. The Utah Bowman's Association, and then just generally as a committee, they felt like they didn't want to take opportunity away from other archers that had other unit archery permits. And they wanted to continue to allow those guys an opportunity to hunt. And it was kind of like a go-between, Like my main priority when I was on the committee is like I really wanted to like free up these other units,
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I thought I don't want people to apply for the box elder archery tag with no intent to ever hunt it, just so they could hunt the Wasatch. That was like my main intent. So it was kind of like a go-between. It still allows people that drew an archery tag anywhere else in the state to hunt the Wasatch if they want to, but then people can apply for the Wasatch extended only.
Maybe there is this, and I haven't looked in a while. Do we know how many hunters actually go up and do the Wasatch extended every single year? Is there potential for overcrowding?
That's what I thought too.
Because all these unsuccessful archers,
right?
All these unsuccessful dedicated hunters, you guys could all flock.
Plus the people that now draw the extended archery permit.
You could have so many people up there doing this. And
I thought that too, but I guess the general consensus and kind of thought is that it's not as popular as people might think.
It's steep, it's cold, snowy. It's keeping people away. It's already during that fall, Thanksgiving, family time. They've already had a hard season. They don't have any more days to give up type of thing.
Yep.
I mean, maybe, but...
Yeah, maybe. But I'm with you. I kind of thought the same thing, but as a committee, that was kind of the recommendation. And I would say, what is that? You go between the aisles, right? You like reach,
Got to make a deal.
You got to make a deal, kind of.
Look at you.
It felt like. So that's where it landed. Bipartisan, that's it. Yeah. You think, given the fact we're close with the old election, I'd know that. But that's kind of the gist of the plan. I guess take-home message. I think, my personal opinion, I thought it was a good plan that was well represented from a lot of different angles. And that's the thing about wildlife management, especially mule deer in the state of Utah, is you have so many people that are so emotionally invested on opposite ends of the spectrum. People want opportunity. They want to go hunting often. They don't care about a big buck. They want their kids to hunt. And you got guys, in Cedar and St. George that just want to smash a 190-inch buck every 10 years or whatever
status.
It is. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you have this like eclectic mix of people. And I felt like for a plan that was, main goal to grow deer, I felt like it's a good plan. But again, if you disagree with me, and that's great if you do, show up and
show up, make your comments online,
make your comment,
send your comments in, read these documents.
Oh, I did have one more thing I want to talk about.
I have one more thing, too.
You do, too?
Oh.
We're going to not even get to Colorado.
I know. We might have to do Colorado another day.
Okay,
the nice thing is, too, I can touch on Colorado now. Like, by the time this podcast goes live, the Colorado article that I'm working on right now will be live, so you can check it out and read through it all, and I'll give my explanation of what we do on the podcast. But I would still probably like to talk about it on the podcast here.
Okay.
Eventually, but
yeah we can do
that
today. So the thing I want to talk about is they talk about top-down effect, top-down population effect. So top-down meaning you have populations that are stable or shrinking, but your does are having fawns. Production levels are good, but the population isn't growing. Fat measurements, fat reserves seem to be good, but those populations seem to be flat or even declining. And at that point, you're looking at something like populations are being stifled by predators. And at one point in the presentation, he makes the comment that historically we've always said, myself included, I went to college at Utah State. I was always taught that, ungulate population, it's, primarily habitat, right? He makes the comment that predators in some areas have more impact than previously ever thought, which I thought was really interesting because we're getting that data back now. And I thought it was really cool that within the plan, they've set thresholds. Like if predator mortality hits a threshold of this %, we're going to change the predator management plan, and we're going to address predators within that specific unit or area. And the reason I think this is interesting and the fact that they're talking about it more openly, because like predator, cougars, the public talks about it all the time, but as far as like a government agency, it was like this bastard thing. You don't talk about predators stifling populations, right? It just doesn't happen. So I thought it was really cool that we have data now to suggest it. And then I think it yields itself, hopefully we get a good vote in Colorado. But you're talking now, Utah's talking about that being a limiting factor for deer herds, which, if you read some of the, the people that propose, they like 127. One of the things they said was predator management, predator hunting never impacts ungulate populations. It's not correlated, but now you have data from the state of Utah saying that it is.
Thank you, Utah.
Thank you. Yeah, genuinely. I thought that was awesome. I wanted to note that. I think it's really important to continue that conversation is why predator management is just as it's needed as anything.
Yeah, it's bananas to think that that's not
common sense.
Yeah, it's so insane.
Yeah, I agree. But at least now we have some science to suggest, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just bananas. Like the amount of veracity we hunt deer, elk, antelope with, and then not predators. You know what I mean? So it's like, these prey animals are dealing with us and them. How is it that predators have no impact on them? It's never made sense.
Yeah.
It's like a very common sense thing, I feel like.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's just good now that we're collecting data and we're starting to see it. And like, I think the exact quote he said is Utah data is suggesting that they are seeing more top-down effect in population than perhaps was previously thought.
Thank you, Utah.
Which is really good to see somebody, in the Department of Wildlife making the statement, hey.
That's actually taking that on.
Yeah, taking it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it was awesome that built within the plan that if there are these, top-down impacts to populations, that within the predator management plan, we can roll into it and say, okay, it's time to adjust. And here's the threshold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also think it's cool, too, that Utah's had that Mule Deer Protection Act since 2012 that allows for the bounty of coyotes. You actually get paid to ton coyotes, and also that the funds for coyote control efforts, they do target removal by coyotes by USDA, Wildlife Services, and private contractors in Utah as well.
Yeah, and what they've done is they've hired people to go in during fawning time frames and areas where we know deer are fawning and remove coyotes like a real targeted, time of year.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and I think Brock said on that podcast, he said, your coyotes on the winter range, they're not controlling your populations. They're not necessarily hurting your populations. The ones that are up there on fawning grounds, calving grounds, targeted that 2-week period, right, when they're being born, those are the ones that are killing your population. Wreaking havoc. And so they've made efforts, one, identify fawning and calving grounds, and then two, hire people, professionals, to go in and target those specific areas during that time of year, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, because they have like a $5 fee added onto your license, stuff that goes directly to this program.
Yep. $5.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, a fee to help improve populations. So that's the kind of the biggest points, I guess I would say. There's lots of stuff in there that's kind of the same old, habitat and, life history of mule deer in the state of Utah. But those are the big talking points that I had.
I got one more.
Hit it.
So we talked a couple podcasts ago, and we've done more articles recently, articles way back in the day, talking about the old feral horse problem. All right. And we did that one the other day.
I did want to talk about this, actually.
We did that one the other day, wildlife benefits from feral horse removal in Wyoming. It was on the Wind River Indian Reservation. And I want to point out here, in this, whatever I said, 60-some page, statewide Utah Mule Deer Management Plan, Utah calls out feral horse populations in Utah continue to grow. They don't say wild horse populations. They specifically call out feral horse populations.
I called that out.
So
Utah doing the Lord's work. Trail over there too.
So it goes on.
I brought that up.
So this is what I want to touch on too. So horses are less efficient at extracting nutrients from forage than ruminants like mule deer and elk. As such, horses must consume larger quantities of forage to survive. In arid environments, horses may also defend water sources from other species. There's a study you can read, Gooch et al. And Hall et al. 2016 and 2017.
I love Brady with his pen.
Yeah, underlying as he's
underlining and highlighted for me to check him out later.
You should have been a doctor, I feel like.
Yeah. I know. I miss my calling. And then it says, more specifically, feral horses have a negative effect on water use by mule deer. Suggesting that increase in horse numbers will negatively affect populations of mule deer. This is why we badly need some management going on in the state of Nevada as well for horses. It is crucial. That wasn't included in here. That was my side rant. It is crucial that the division work closely with federal land management agencies to actively manage horses on federal lands to minimize negative impacts to wildlife habitat. So kudos to Utah.
Yeah.
For calling it out what it is and saying there's actually kudos to trail.
I remember this meeting. We were talking about it, and feral horses, we need to get those on the board, on the whiteboard.
That's another one that's just bananas to me that nobody, it's just so clear.
I wanted to ask you, so we did we did a video, right?
Yeah.
We did a reel. You talked about feral horses.
Yeah.
And we got some comments about it.
Mm-hmm.
Brady, Lorenzo, you guys
I haven't jumped back in to see what the guy was commenting back on, but I jumped in as GOHUNT.
What was the issue? What did people feedback say that they took issue with it? Do you remember?
I'll pull it up here.
First of all, it was wildly more positive than anything.
I agree.
Like people.
Yeah, good point.
People understood and have ran into the same issues if they've hunted in the Southwest at all, specifically Nevada. But there were some people that were against it. a couple of them we were like trying to figure out where they were coming from, and
Yeah.
it seems like they were using some skewed data of like nationwide comparative to what just the state of Nevada is.
Gotcha. I wanted to ask you, what do you think? So I'll just throw this out, and I'm probably preaching to the choir, and I brought it up in a meeting internally the other day, but I think it's so strange. Help me understand this if you would. Why is it that a feral horse on the landscape, its life, it is on this scale. Pedestal. It's at the tip top.
Yeah.
Right? But deer, elk, antelope, bighorn sheep, like they're kind of down here.
Yeah.
Like if we had elk herds on the Southwest Desert and they were eating the Southwest Desert out of house and home, and they were stomping out water sources, they were pushing other wildlife off, and those numbers was so high, what would we do? We'd hunt them. We'd remove those animals, right?
Yeah.
Because they're at the detriment. It's not an ecosystem that's working functionally,
Correct.
right? It's not working
Yeah.
together. It's not congruent. So why is it that a wild horse, a feral horse, or a burro
Yeah.
is like, yeah, we can't touch it?
It's so crazy. Yeah.
Because people have them as pets. That's why.
I think they're put on the same pedestal and used as leverage, just like grizzly bears and wolves are. They say we're going to delist them, and when we reach a certain level, the population now is 3-4 times X what it's supposed to be. We're not going to delist it because it's such a hot button item, and they're just, I don't know. It just seems really crazy that they say you have a set number of this.
I mean, I would say
the population is this, and we're not touching them.
I would say the same things about wolves and grizzlies.
Exactly.
It's asinine to me that you have numbers above and beyond your recovered objective, and they're still listed. You still can't manage that species. You can't hunt them.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily like I'm not applying for a grizzly tag. I'm not like die hard want to go hunt and kill a grizzly, but I do think that they should be managed. I think those populations should be managed in conjunction with other animals that are managed. And I don't feel any different. Like I don't understand how a horse is any different.
It's not. It's just first of all, wolves and grizzlies, yes, are also held at a higher life value for whatever reason, but they're still not as high as horses. Horses are the pinnacle. I mean, you can still hunt wolves. You can still hunt grizzlies. You cannot hunt horses, and they are federally protected. Like without, I mean, there is no gray area or loophole at all. And I think it's a very simple thing is people have them as pets. Like people have emotional connection to a horse because people have them as pets and they have connections with them and everything like that. Wolves, I think, are very similar the same way. It reminds them of their dog, and it's just one of those things. Everybody talks about hearing the howl of a wolf.
Yeah.
Like it's a husky dog.
I dove down. Yeah.
It's very different, though.
Sure.
And first of all those people that are saying they want to hear the howl of the wolf, they're never going to go out there in the first place to actually hear it.
Maybe I'm cold-hearted, but if there were hundreds of wild golden doodles running around,
if they're a problem,
killing deer, I would
manage them.
I would gladly go out and help manage those animals. I don't get it. Just because it's a golden doodle, I could give two shits.
But we are hunters and understand. You know what I mean? It's like I completely agree with you. But I think why they're on such a pedestal and why they're so protected and why there's so much emotion behind it is because the depiction of horses. Of what they are, right? Not like what they all are. Not they don't understand the difference between the horse in the pasture that's like coming up to you to get grain and happy to see you, as opposed to the feral ones that are creating massive issues.
Yeah, I mean, I started looking at this issue after you did the reel, and I was looking. I think I saw somewhere that the budget for trying to not even manage, but take care of these horses that are pulled off the landscape.
Yeah.
So you pull them off. They do roundups, right? Remove them from public lands, BLM, Forest Service, state lands. I want to say the budget was like $93 million to try to
not allowed. Yeah. They're not allowed to euthanize them
not allowed to euthanize them
or anything.
Or sell them
nothing.
Yeah,
they're
right.
just
I guess
there.
they have auctions, right, where you could buy a wild horse and break it. But my understanding is that
it's very difficult.
It's not very popular.
Minimal.
Yeah.
Beyond minimal.
Tiny. It doesn't seem to me that there's any plan or any viable option to manage horses. And you know what else is crazy to me? This is crazy to me that these people that are anti to any kind of euthanization of horses or hunting horses or anything on public land, they feel completely okay if those horses are rounded up and then put on some other piece of property in like Texas or Oklahoma or something, and they just hang out.
They just stand there.
Just stand there? Like somehow that's okay? Like I don't get it. I don't get the frame of mind at all.
Me either. Like literally not a shred of it. I don't understand it.
Yeah, so that one guy who commented on it, he's like, I'm a hunter and will no longer support your brand due to misinformation. This guy is basically, I feel this is like, is more politically dividing it with people, just like any other political thing. It's like, you talk about horses, people that are really for it are really against it, and it just drives at everyone's emotions, and you have all these horse lovers or whatever that go after it and try to shut things down. I pulled up an old article. I don't know if you guys
just real quick though, like that's part of it right there. Like that comment to us. I haven't seen that one yet, but
it's like, not misinformation. We literally
just refuses. That has nothing to do with us as far as information goes.
Yeah.
That is the numbers from the state.
The numbers we pulled was directly from the Nevada Department of Wildlife.
Okay.
So we have nothing to do with the information.
Right.
And it's like people just don't want to believe the numbers. They don't want to believe things when they see the state putting out those numbers. It's like, I want to touch on this real quick. So if you guys remember way back in 2018, we covered an article that the Navajo Nation wanted to announce a feral horse hunt. Okay.
Yep.
And it was shut down in hours. So I have screenshots of the hunt on the website. 2018 feral horse management hunt proclamation. The Navajo Nation called it a feral horse hunt. It was canceled because of activists just flooding them with lawsuits and all sorts of stuff. So they had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They had 6 different units, or one open unit, but 6 different hunts. They were going to take out basically 60 horses, and they had a cost to apply on a Navajo Nation. They wanted to get rid of it because they felt like there was a problem with the feral horse population, and it instantly got shut down in hours.
It's just one of those things.
They should be able to do what's best and manage the land, and yet you're having people who don't live there decide what's best for them.
I'm not even saying I don't want to get rid of all wild horses and burros. I don't care.
I don't want to get rid of all wolves. I don't want to get rid of all coyotes. I don't want to get rid of all grizzly bears. I don't want to get rid of everything.
Yeah, me either. But it would be great if we could somehow figure out a way to manage to the actual objective and plan that the BLM lays out for an individual unit.
Correct.
Or area.
If they said the capacity is, if the professionals said, and scientists said the carrying capacity of feral horses on this landscape is, I can't remember the number that was in the report we did, is X number. Well, if it's triple that, we should probably do something about that.
Right. Mm-hmm. How many people, I wonder how many of these people that like sit behind their computer and, leave emails, I wonder how many of them actually even seen one or even that know anything about it.
I think that's the problem though too. Like you do have people who say like, I've been to Nevada, I don't see any of this, or I don't see any of X animal, or I go to Yellowstone, I don't see any wolves. When are these people typically driving through places to see animals? Middle of the day. When are animals most active? Morning and evenings. Horses are probably different, but like, have you got off the main highway? Have you got off the interstate?
I could take it to a pile of horses.
Yeah, you would
literally right now.
Yeah, an hour away, 2 hours away, we can go show them all sorts of horses.
If we from this office, I could get you in front of 20 plus wild horses in an hour and a half.
I got a real burr in my saddle.
That's literally from leaving from the office.
Intended.
I know. I mean, I can take you exactly where they are.
About this one. Yeah, we're hopefully going to have a guest on that worked for the program here in Nevada, Wild Horse and Burro program, and get to pick her brain a little bit about it in the future. But I did want to ask about that reel. And man, here's the thing. I hate the fact. I hate anything where it's like, here's a problem. We have a real problem. This is a problem. Yeah. And doesn't matter like what corner you get to, the person behind that corner is like, sorry, can't do anything about it. Like everybody you talk to the feds. They were doing a horse roundup when I was out there hunting antelope on the Southwest Desert. I'd be like, take them all. He'd be like, oh yeah, funny, haha. And he was like, yeah, we're doing what we can. There's this like underlying current of like, we can't really do anything. Yeah, we know it's a problem. We can't do it.
Several people from NW
they're held hostage.
Yeah,
literally.
That sucks.
Yeah. It really sucks.
talked to several NDOW employees who've been to this office, and I bring it up all the time. Like, yeah, we can't do anything. We can't. And it's like, it's just silly. Like you say, you can manage for everything else, but you can't touch this. And I can't remember the exact thing. Quote me or say I'm wrong. But wasn't the fine if you poach a horse in Nevada, it's higher than if you poach a desert bighorn?
Way higher.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, way higher. I can't remember the specifics on that either, but it's way higher.
I thought we talked about it way back in the day. It was like an old article or something that we were talking about one of these. But the fine for actually poaching a horse in Nevada is higher than
horse as opposed to the state animal.
State animal, desert bighorn.
Do people eat horses?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So how is it any different than shooting an elk or moose or an antelope?
I mean, not Americans. It's taboo to Americans, but a lot of other cultures, it's like it's a thing. Like that's
people eat horses, right?
Because I think I don't want to misspeak, but I think it's Iceland. Don't quote me on that, but I think Iceland has like a big time horse meat culture.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just don't. It's an animal like any other animal in the landscape.
Yeah.
Like we manage every other animal, and we've done a damn good job at it. Like over the years, like.
Look at every animal
That's what's funny
population
to me
number.
is when I was looking at this issue, and maybe this is my what's bugging trail. This might be the top of the list.
Yeah.
You look at the North American model of conservation. You place value on an animal, right? Elk, deer, antelope.
Yeah.
You sell hunting permits. Through hunting permits, you conserve. You put that money into habitat management, the whole thing. Like the wheels come off the bus for an animal like a wild horse or a feral horse, right?
Feral. Please use feral, not wild.
You don't. I mean, you don't place any monetary value on that thing, right?
Yeah.
So what now? It costs taxpayers, I don't know how many millions, hundreds of millions of dollars a year that could be paid in and supported by people willing to go out. So you solve the problem, and you can pay for it.
Absolutely. And not just pay for it, you can pay to restore the habitat along the way.
Yeah, it's asinine to me.
But it's literally as simple as somebody reaching out to us and saying they're never going to follow our brand because of misinformation. All we did was point out that the Nevada BLM said that there's an X number of what they thought was, carrying capacity, and we're way beyond that.
Yep.
And it's literally just that emotional and that simple.
Yeah, and I hate the fact that anything, it's like, somebody can say, I'm really passionate about feral horses and seeing, feral horses and burros, and that's my jam, and I love it. Like, how is their value any greater than my value to see elk and bighorn sheep? It's like,
correct.
It's your value, my value, and somehow we have to find a way to work together to where we're getting the best for both.
Correct.
And right now, I don't feel like we are. I feel like there's far too many of them, and I would love to see something done.
And this is an interesting thing too on the comment thing that was going on that reel. Some guys were talking about how is this any different than cattle, sheep, goats on the landscape and all that stuff, and why we just talking about horses. Well, one of the things this guy mentioned, which I don't know if it's true or not, totally, but the guy's like, second, horses have teeth on the top and bottom of their mouths, where sheep, goats, and cattle only have bottom teeth in front. Because horses have top and bottom teeth in the front of their mouths. When they eat a grass plant, they either rip the whole plant and root system out of the ground or bite off the whole top part of the plant. This leads to the plant dying and not be able to come back, where sheep, goats, and cattle have bottom teeth only and are limited to the amount of grass they can eat in a bite, leaving the plant healthy and enough to keep producing. Yeah. So I know it's the fact they have top and bottom, and it's like, it does make sense that when they do eat, they're going to tear apart more of the plant or tear it all out, and to the point where the plant's not going to be able to regrow. Yeah. And have nutrients in for. And
also, people that graze cattle, sheep, livestock on public lands pay a permit fee. Mm-hmm. It might not be what people think is like justifiable based on the feed that they get, but they pay a damn permit fee. Like, they pay for them to be there. Nobody's paying for horses to be there, other than us as taxpayers.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure I wasn't misspeaking about Iceland. Do they eat it?
Yeah. So I'm seeing Iceland. I found a thread people talking about.
Here's what
Belgium,
I found. Here's just a real quick search.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks France is like more socially liberal than us, right?
Sure.
Like, we're hard-nosed American, right?
Yeah.
France eats horse meat.
Yep.
It's a culinary tradition in France. It's part of the country's gastronomic culture. Italy, eating horse meat. It's a cultural tradition practiced for centuries. Japan, The consumption of horse meat in Japan dates back centuries, with evidence suggesting it was part of the ancient Japanese diet. Kazakhstan, South Korea, Mongolia, Switzerland. Everybody thinks Switzerland is like the best thing
Yeah,
ever.
see, here's the thing. Nobody ate mountain
Belgium.
lion 30 years ago or 50 years ago. Everybody eats mountain lion now and loves it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I've eaten it, and it's great.
But like the whole taboo thing about horses and all that, dude, France, Italy, South Korea is like a very cultured place, right? Like South Korea is awesome. Seoul, South Korea, I've been there. It's incredible. Switzerland, Belgium, all kinds of places.
Would you hunt a horse? Let's say that they're like, all right, we got our shit together finally. We're gonna issue some permits for horses. Would you apply?
Yes.
I was about to apply for the Navajo Nation
Love
horse
it.
hunt.
Love
so
that.
if that answers
Wouldn't
your
you?
question.
Oh,
I would.
all day.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
It's like not even a question.
Yeah.
And I still like I would do anything like any other animal. I would still utilize the whole
Yeah, I would
animal. I would
do-
eat the meat. I'd probably do something with the hide as well. Like
Yeah, horse hide. For
like,
sure.
Come on.
I would 100% do that. Same thing I'm doing with my oryx. I would literally do the same thing as my oryx.
Yeah.
Rugged and can't wait to eat the meat.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a good spot to end.
We'll get to Colorado and our app strategy stuff later. Sorry, folks, for that.
We'll get to it next time.